chat calisthenics that one has to do before you do a show like this. It's like an aerobic activity, for the jaw. So what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Caliber Corner, episode number 98. We are pumped up. We're excited to see everybody here today. We've already got a lot of people chatting over here on the YouTube side. We'll check in on the gun channel side here in just a minute. And anyway, got a great panel today. Topics. We're going to visit a topic that was suggested to me months and months and months ago by my stepdad. And like stepson, I didn't listen, unfortunately. And we're going to talk about AR-15 barrels. Choosing a good AR-15 barrel, what to look for, some tried and true brands. And we've got a master AR-15 builder, Dead Horse, with us today. And I thank him for being with us today. And we got a great panel lined up, a lot of people joining in. So let's go ahead and see who's over here on the YouTube side real quick. And then we'll check the gun channel side in just a minute. So joining us already, we got Derek24, Jason Stewart, John Brown Productions, Clint Torres is with us, Southpaw RX, Tacos and French Fries. Let's see, Gun Loving Grandpa's with us, Calaveras 32 Special. Update for Gun Loving Grandpa, he was finally able to find the thread protector for the circuit judge for $8 from Rossi Direct. Man, I scoured the internet everywhere, and people said, try Rossi, and apparently they came through. Scott P79's with us, and the Kingpin's out there, and the Kingpin is over here. And over on the gun channel side, I'm seeing Dead Horse over there, and also John Brown Productions. Thank you guys for joining in. And let me update the chat over there and see if we have anybody else. Pop it in real quick before we get started. Not yet. Okay, so real quick, we're going to let the panel introduce themselves. We have a lot to talk about today, so we're going to go ahead and get started. And we're going to be coming up on episode number 100, which just happens to be on the 4th of July. And next week, I'll talk to you guys about how that's going to work out and what's going to happen. We're still going to have an episode, but there's going to be a few minor changes to it. But we're still going to bring you guys lots of great content. So let's go ahead and get started. On my right, Squiblift is with us. Squib, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody? Got to find the mute button.
Got to go through multiple layers to get to the mute button.
No, I know. It's always so laborious. I just need to send you a Chromebook. You can set it up in the corner with the Bluetooth headset. So Squib, what's going on in your world, man? You've been busy doing reviews lately, brother.
Yeah. I'm emulating you, but I'm doing a really bad job of it.
Give yourself some credit. You do a good job, right?
No. I'm having more fun with this really than trying to be a copycat or trying to live up to a certain expectation. I like the fact that, okay, I'm not going to be a coffee connoisseur. It's just not going to happen. I like coffee and
shit. Okay, go on.
But okay, you got me to change what kind of water I use.
Yeah, and you're starting to go up the ladder. You were a Folgers guy, and now you got some Black Rifle going up there. You got some.
I'm going to make some Maxwell House just for that.
And we're going to get you some Sumatra. It's going to happen. And I'm not saying coffee snob. We're going to open up your palate to the world of coffee. But anyway, go on. Continue.
No, see, okay, like you guys have been a bad influence on me because you got me using purified water instead of distilled water. Well, Gary's got me calling
coffee maker, and two, it does change the flavor. It makes the flavor better because you don't have impurities in the water that you can taste, mineral deposits, chlorine, and garbage like that. Continue.
Well, Gary's got me calling a Slim Jim a savory candy bar.
It is.
Let's see, what other kind of changes in my life? I can't seem to go to a public restroom. I can't seem to. Yeah, hot dog is a sandwich, and I can't seem to go to a public restroom without shooting video.
Okay.
Wow, whoosh.
Thank you. I needed that. I actually need a sound clip of that for the one I want to release this week, Kingpin. The camera shut the audio off. Every now and then, the little 4K camera I have, it just turns the audio off, and then I've got a voiceover. So I could use as many baboosh as I can get.
I'll email you a couple different versions.
That would be wonderful if you could send me some sound clips. Like I said, I'm having fun making videos. I'm trying to put some different kind of videos on the B channel, but the B channel is getting some of the same stuff too. And I'm finding that I'm having more fun with this. I'm making friends. I'm learning stuff. I'm having fun doing the whole YouTube thing. And I know some of the stuff I put out is kind of boring. Some people don't want that. I've gotten some comments from people, hey, we just want to see guns. It's like, hey, if that's what you want to see, there's plenty of channels out there with it, and I'm not knocking those channels. We all have a different business model. So I'm having fun. I'm just having fun. So
I still have a Tasty Cake chocolate pie video that I haven't dropped yet that I'm just kind of sitting on because I did too many food reviews in a row, and I thought I don't want people to think I'm like gorging myself to my next heart attack. So I'm gonna let that one wait a couple days before it goes live. But I had fun with it. I had fun with it. Sometimes you got to have fun with the videos you make, and if you don't enjoy what you're doing, there's no point in making them. You know.
You inspired me to eat an entire bag of chicken nuggets. Okay, so
did you make those?
Yeah, the video's on my B channel.
Oh, okay, that was a link.
You put up the hash brown chicken nugget video.
Would you now, without spoiling the video? Did you like them?
Yes. And I was at Walmart last night, and I was in the exact same cooler, and I was digging through it, and they're sold out, and I was all bummed.
Oh. I'm telling you, the Tyson hash brown chicken nuggets, regardless of whether they send their chickens off to China to get butchered and then shipped to Taiwan and then re-imported, I don't care. They're tasty. They're good. They're not good for you. Doesn't matter. All right, so we got to keep things moving. We got to keep.
Those chickens could be slaughtered in the factory in your town.
Probably. No, Tyson's beef. Here in Nebraska, they might have poultry plants in Nebraska, but I know they got I think they have a poultry plant in Iowa, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Storm Lake, but yeah, no, they've got variety of different meats that they process. So yeah, cool. All right, moving on. We've got you might recognize him from Knocked Up. We've got Seth Rogen. Seth, what's going on, buddy? I'm just getting this nice strike one. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, and
this guy.
The beer's coming back.
Seriously, I thought you were Seth Rogen. I was going to ask you for an autograph when you joined in the chat. I seriously,
no, I'm for a while longer. I'm still the CEO of GunTube.
This is correct. So, Nice Strike, what's new with you? What should we be watching? You got some great content on your channel. You got a wonderful little program every Tuesday night, 9 o'clock. What is that program?
You should know. You're the unofficial co-host now.
Well, I'm just letting you reveal it. I'm leaving this. This is your moment.
Tuesday night, 9 o'clock.
That's right. Hit or miss.
8 Central. Okay.
It was. You know what? It was a hit last Tuesday. If anybody missed the episode, I want you guys to check it out.
Not this Tuesday, but last Tuesday.
Just 2 days ago. Every episode's awesome.
I'll admit I went on a rant, and I continued that rant last night on Roll Call 219 channel, and I even set up a gun channels page for him now too. Oh, cool. So check out Rants and Raves and Roll Call 219, and check out GunTube and check GunTube out on Patreon, and check the store. We got patches, stickers, whatnot for sale, because right now I am considering closing GunTube because I can't pay for it anymore.
We understand, man. We understand.
Any help that you can give would be appreciated, because otherwise I'm gonna have to close GunTube.
All right. We don't want that to happen, guys. So you can check out guntube.org, and then you can also support over on Patreon, right? You got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of users and people registered for it, and 30, 35, 40 actual patrons?
Not even that.
Okay. And the financial demands, as you know, because eventually, as we know, if YouTube's going to push us off, with our content, or they're going to do whatever they can to make us want to leave.
They're getting rid of Hangouts too later this year.
Oh yeah, even on my own channel, I'm checking it every day, and I'm just numb to it. But every day, more and more of my videos go to limited or no ads, which means the visibility goes down. I could give a rat's ass about ad revenue, because I've only been monetized for less than 2 years anyway, and I'm not financing a car with it or anything like that. So if it goes, whatever. But as we go over to GunStreamer and GunTube and YouTube, those other platforms that are there for us, the burdens on those websites go up as the content goes up, and it costs more money to run them, and more videos used, and more hard drive space. So the point is, support GunTube if you don't do anything else. $1 a month can help out. All right. Cool. All right, we're gonna keep things rolling. Over to the Kingpin, David Bowling. What's new in your world, man? How's it going?
Not too bad, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Cool. Appreciate you being here, buddy. All right.
Can you do me a favor? Can you email me another link? I'm having a hard time. I'm on my phone right now, but my PC won't let me get on.
That's what everybody's saying. So let me just take the. Yeah, I'll get one out here while people are running through the intros. So all right, no problem, man. All right, cool. Dead Horse, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? You've been on the show a couple times now, and again, you're always going to be invited. But go ahead, man.
I'm Dead Horse. I do the early watch in the mornings over on gunchannels.com. where we talk 2A news during your morning commute and breakfast. And I guess I'm known as kind of like the AR guy, but I'll be the first one to say I definitely don't consider myself an expert. I'm definitely just a hobbyist that has a lot of experience.
Cool. No, man, I'm glad you're here because I wanted your expertise. And again, you're always invited. You got a great channel. I want you guys to check out Dead Horse's channel. And you've got AR build videos on your channel, yes or no?
Oh yeah. I've
Okay,
done a lot of I've built a lot of ARs live on gun channels.
have you had any?
Even during a lot of other people's shows.
And then, but are these also on YouTube?
Yes, yeah, I have even my kids. There's some videos like kids build an AR video series where I have two of my kids building their own guns.
So we can still, since you're not technically manufacturing, you're just assembling. Just so
Yeah.
people know, you can still catch these videos. I mean, that's they haven't been pulled, you haven't been.
I
receiving
might
any
even
red
have some
flags.
manufacturing videos over there too. Some 80%.
Hey, that all you do, you man. I'll let that come from you. So no problem, no problem. All right, cool, man. I appreciate you being here, and like I said, you guys are always welcome to be back. And all right, moving on. AWAG, what's going on, AWAG? AWAG, I need you to talk for a minute while I resend out the links. Can you kind of let us know what little project you're working on right now?
Alrighty, so as you've probably noticed, I have muted myself for quite a bit of time. I am currently assembling an AR-9 lower right now. I will show that off very briefly, but in order to kick off our AR barrel chat, I will be using for this 9mm AR-15 build that I like to call it AR-9, is I'm going to be using a 16-inch Faxon Firearms gunner barrel, which is I believe their really light, skinny pencil profile barrel, and it will be a basically like almost like a little 9mm DMR, because I'll actually show off the receiver right now because I'm just finishing up putting the pistol grip in, and I will have completed the lower. Most people are asking me if I use Glock mags or the Colt SMG mags. I'm going to be using the Colt SMG mags because there's just so much Glock stuff everywhere that I'm just kind of sick of all the plastic magazines, and I like the steel magazines instead. So I'm using a, hopefully this does not, there we go. Here's the AR-9 that I'm building. Uses a Magpul MOEK grip with an Anderson A2 stock.
Okay.
And a Han HAHN Han Colt SMG magazine well adapter. So that locks in using the magazine release, and it doesn't go any farther down than the bottom of the magazine well, and it's actually held in by the top receiver. So when you're shooting it, you can push this magazine release as hard as you want, and it won't come out. So
That's cool.
Uses a hardened steel ejector.
How much are those? How much are those magwell adapters?
The magwell adapter, it is expensive. I paid $175, $185 plus is with shipping, but it's definitely going to be worth it because it's all machined aluminum and the ejector is hardened steel along with the feed lips.
Well, go price a dedicated AR-9 lower.
Yeah.
If you've already got a carbine receiver or whatever, carbine lower, and you're going to use that as a carbine even as a 9mm, or you've already got a pistol lower, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a nice alternative to buying another. Not that it's a problem to have to go buy another lower, but I mean, you might be spending, once you get furniture added to the AR and once you pay your transfer fee and this and that, you might have 175 dropped into another one. So, and that's cool. I mean, that's a really nice option because you can just maybe take an upper with you, take some mags, and just take that adapter to the range and take care of the carbine with you and play around with it. It's not a bad way to really get into it without having to, buy yourself a completely new lower. So.
Yeah, and I actually like the feel of the A2 stock. It's long enough since I'm a 6 foot 1 inch lanky slender man, if you will.
What do you mean?
You look hungry, AWAG. You need to get out of that state where they have
He looks like a twig. Just look at my video that I posted last week.
Of me practically going at it on the AK.
I swear, the PSL was more well fed than AWAG.
Yeah, that I'll give you that.
Oh man!
And it broke too on camera.
Yeah, that's because the ammo that I was using is I kind of loaded it light.
That's what he says. That's what he says.
Yeah, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
There you go. There you go. What do we got here? Rob D. New York Outcast is saying, "Dang it, Travis P11, your time change keeps messing me up. I'm checking in late. Hello, everybody." Sky's coming out with the Yeet cannon slide. I wouldn't be surprised. So Yeet's going to be the new marketing toy, new marketing.
Yeah,
brand.
man.
PSA,
Okay, speaking of Yeet cannon, Palmetto State Armory has both 9mm
All right.
receivers and AR-15 receivers that say Yeet cannon on them.
You're the youngest person here, and you're hip to all the terminology. We've had these discussions before. Just sum up quickly for us. What does Yeet mean, and why do we care in terms of firearms? I know, but I want you to explain it to anybody that's watching this that's over 25. So what's going on?
Okay. So, from my knowledge, and this is subjective to any and all millennials, the term yeet is basically used when you throw something with great velocity. It's kind of like a grunt when, you go to, like, throw something. Instead of grunting, you just yell yeet, and then you chuck it. And usually it's used in terms of throwing that said object at another person. So
it's not like woohoo or woo-wee. It's not like that. It's not a replacement for like some kind of a cry or holler or something.
Yes, that's what I have learned it to be.
When I'm on the toilet, I'm gonna start using yeet just to see what the wife's reaction is. I'm just kind of
curious. Oh, jeez. No. Okay, now here's an example. You basically take a random object, so let's say a shampoo bottle, and then you throw it at your best friend, and with great velocity, you yell yeet as soon as it leaves your hand.
Like you kind of yeet. Or you have to. Is it yeet? Can you go? Can you kind of like grunt it out, like kind of? All right.
No, it has to be very defined, the very stressed ease. Like,
so they want to apply the term yeet because it's a gun and it's throwing lead. So they call it the yeet cannon, right?
Yeah, they call it the yeet cannon because it yeets the bullets.
And the thing is, High Point was taking names for the new C9 pistol they're coming out with, which all of us will buy. And it's going to, they wanted to name it the yeet cannon. And supposedly that was, do we know if that was what the majority of people chose? Was that the percentage? Overall, do they reveal the percentage of what the votes were?
Yeah, I mean, there was 556 votes for yeet, and the next runner-up was the We Like Shooting, the WLS9 with 330 something votes, I believe.
Oh, okay. I went C9G2. I went more tactical sounding than anything. So
I want the yeet cannon, man.
So now you said that High Point has gone back now, and they said they are in fact going to call it the yeet cannon.
No. They're having a contest. It's the third phase of the contest. So there's 10 more names. Out of those 10 names, the winner out of those 10 names goes up against Yeet Cannon.
Okay. Well, we'll have to have a Yeet campaign because I'm telling you, love it or hate it, who doesn't want a threaded double stack mag 9mm for $175, $150, $160? I'd buy one just to have one around, just to play. I might even consider getting a suppressor because of it, So, anywho, but that's all right.
Yeet Cannon 2019
thing. All right, I got you. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get into it now. Let's get into our first topic. We're talking about AR-15 barrels, and man, okay, so Dead Horse, I'm gonna let you lead this for the most part. I think the first thing a person needs to consider when they're in the market for an AR-15 barrel or complete barreled up or is going to be the length choice for the barrel. Dead Horse, do you think people make a lot of mistakes? Do they think they need that 18-inch barrel, or do you think that people go too short when it comes to choosing a barrel for a pistol build? What are your thoughts on barrel length? How important is that when you are putting that AR-15 together or choosing a barreled upper? Or anybody else can chime in. I don't care. Any of you guys that have built ARs.
I think it's super important because I think a lot of people don't. They think that they need that extra barrel length, and I see a lot of people going longer barrels, 18 or 20 inch, when they're never going to use that extra velocity or that extra energy that longer barrel length delivers whatsoever, and that then they're that extra length's hampering them. So a shorter barrel is usually stiffer and can actually be more accurate than a longer barrel. I find that in a lot of the bench ref shooting competitions I go to, a lot of those guys aren't running 24-inch varmint or barrels. They're running, shorter 14-inch barrels.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's and then going too short on pistol, 7.5 inch, really loud, lots of muzzle flash. That can turn a lot of people off on those guns, and then they tend to be like, "Oh no, I'm not taking that to the range today because it's just loud and obnoxious."
You're saying they have 14-inch barrels. Are they pinning welding the muzzle device on the end of them, or they use?
Or they're just SBRing them. A lot of these guys have the money that are shooting bench rest. They'll just straight up SBR them.
Okay.
So yeah, because most of these guys won't want a flash hider or a muzzle brake. They'll want a crown barrel.
So just for people listening to understand, when you're choosing a rifle barrel, a carbine barrel, you want to go either 14.5 inch with a pin and welded flash hider or compensator on the end, or you want to go 16 inch typically, right? So people understand that you don't want to put a 10.5 inch barrel on your regular rifle lower thinking you can do that. You can, okay, but technically you would be violating the law. So that's kind of why what the comment was about the 14.5 inch barrel. Yeah, when it comes to, and I find a 10.5 inch barrel, I mean, Squib, he fired one of my AR-15 pistols with the 10.5 inch barrel. I mean, that thing does crack pretty loud, and it does have a pretty substantial flash that comes out at the end. And it is a bit annoying when you're shooting it, especially if you want to do multiple rounds, in a shooting session. It's like having I've mentioned this before, having a little camera flash go off in front of your eyes every time you pull the trigger, which might not be such a big deal, say, when you're wearing sunglasses out in the daytime, but like low light situation, you could get blinded by it, or, you could hamper your ability to stay on target.
Does pinning and welding the flash hider on the end add any significance to the actual use of the firearm, or is it that just straight up a legal thing?
It's it's usually subjective to what the person wants to get out of the rifle, but most of the time, like here in New Jersey, flash hiders on AR-15s are illegal. So we use compensators or muzzle brakes, and I see people do it all the time. They get a 14-inch barrel and they put a muzzle brake that is like 1.5 inches long, so that it brings it to that 16 inches minimum, and then they pin and weld it, or usually they just weld it.
I'm looking at some of the comments here. Calaveras 32 Special says, I have a 20-inch heavy stainless steel AR for coyotes. Yeah, for when you're stretching out that round and you want a nice varmint gun that's going to be nice and steady, and you're going to be out shooting on a plane, or you want to just definitely you want to get the maximum amount that you can out of your round. There's nothing wrong with going with the 20-inch barrel, but if you're looking at like a CQB rifle, or you're looking at just like a kind of a fun to mess around with carbine, the 20 inch is going to be a bit overkill. But for certain applications, yeah, definitely. Dead Horse, after 18 inches, are there any like velocity gains, or are there any energy gains at all? Is it around 16?
It really depends on the ammo you're running.
Yeah.
But if you're running factory ammo, there can be very, very little velocity gains going from a 16 to an 18 or even to a 20. And it really depends on what you're trying to do with the rifle. So I would highly suggest look at the most proficient people that are doing what you want to do, whether it's hunting or target shooting or whatnot, and look at what they're using, like real professionals in the hunting or target shooting arena, and see what they're using, and look at their barrel lengths, their twist rates, and copy them, because a lot of these guys have been doing it for years and years and years, and they really have it figured out.
Yeah.
And another thing another thing people knock a lot is the pencil barrel, is because they always have that old rationale that's it's a pencil barrel, it heats up too fast and it'll string my shots. But that's with old barrel manufacturing, whereas now they have cryogenically stress relieved, they have thermal stress relief, they have all kinds of stress relieving that they can do to these barrels, that you can heat up a pencil barrel as hot as it can go, like before failure point, and it'll still hold pretty decent groups.
So, Dead Horse, what's your opinion on that? Because I've seen, I remember watching, Mr. Guns and Gear tested the pencil barrel, and there was a little bit of an accuracy loss as the barrel heated up. His groups were definitely opening up. It's still more than
it'll string shots up and down, and they've definitely got better about it. But still, you're talking less material. You're talking more harmonics, more flex, no matter what the profile of the barrel. So the stress relieving definitely helps. A lot of people tell you just the cryogenic stress relieving will add 50 feet per second to your velocity, and it'll also help your barrels stay cooler and also help keep them cleaner.
I don't know about the added velocity, but with
That's
some of
actually been
the
shown.
stress
That's
relieving.
actually been shown. So,
Really?
Yeah. So there's actually actual documentation out there that a cryogenically stress relief barrel can actually add velocity. So that's a real thing. If you talk to companies like White Oak and stuff like that, that's a real thing. And and granted, we're talking up to 50 feet per second. So when you're talking rounds that might already be going 3,200 feet per second, that's a really insignificant. There can be that much deviation just from shot to shot. So, but no, that's a real thing. But the thinner profile barrels are always going to open up more the hotter they get. But the thing is that usually you have to shoot 4 mags through them to get to that heat, to get to that temperature before they start stringing shots like that up and down. They'll start stringing them vertical. And so you have to, most people aren't dumping four mags through their guns, and dumping them fast enough for that to come into play. So that's the thing. So when you see these tests, like, is that how you shoot? Do you go to the range and dump 4 mags through it really, really fast and then shoot for accuracy? Like, I don't.
And the thing about the pencil barrel you got to understand is one of the least expensive, kind of off the shelf. I mean, we all know we can get a PSA AR for about $329, right? The DPMS Oracles, I had one of those. I didn't even know what a pencil barrel was when I bought it, and I would have some fun mag dumps with it, and I would shoot it a lot, and I didn't really notice it. Putting stuff on paper, I mean, it opened up, but it was still more than adequate for, say, self-defense. So if you get one, don't feel like it's inadequate if you've got a pencil barrel. They're perfectly fine. But if you really are going to run through some sort of like a shooting course, you're going to be doing some sort of precision shooting, you might want to think twice before you go with that profile of a barrel, that thinness of a barrel, right?
Well, I'll give you my personal experience with one. Is I have one on my now home defense rifle. I put thousands of rounds through it. I mean, not thousands up to the point like you're probably thinking like 10,000 rounds. No, but I probably put like 3,000 or 4,000 rounds through it, and it's delivered the most accurate rifle that I've had in a while. So, and I used to take this to like 3-gun events. I used to do 100-yard rifle matches, which is, at the time, it's just, it's like 3-gun, but minus the pistol and the shotgun. So you're still moving through the course, but you're only using your rifle. And now granted, being in New Jersey, we have a magazine cap at the time of 15 rounds.
Mhm.
So, I wasn't really heating them up that much. So that's why I opted to go with the pencil barrel.
And in my experience, heat is the enemy of accuracy. So like when you're shooting a rifle, it generates a great amount of heat, right? We all know that. And steel expands as it gets heated, right? So as the steel expands, the more steel you have like in a heavier barrel, that means the more thermal mass it can have. And the more the heat can expand into that steel. So that means that you're heating that barrel less overall, the more steel that's there. And a cooler barrel expands less than a hot barrel. So, and again, we're talking, maybe 40 thousandths of an inch and stuff, that type of expansion, like very, very minute stuff, but it's a real thing. So the heavier the barrel you have, that's why you see so many guys running heavier bull barrels.
So I kind of cheated with this, as I have like 3 or 4 books on thermodynamics, and I did enough research to figure out that I actually wrapped my pencil barrel with copper wire, because copper will actually extract heat, and it's a great thermal conductor. And when it pulls that heat out of the barrel, and with it being threads wrapped around the barrel, it acts as like a heat sink. So it's basically the profile of a pencil barrel, but it has the thermal effect of a heavy barrel.
Interesting. Something I want to say about barrel length real quick is, just because we're saying you need to go 16 or 18 or whatever, remember, it depends on the caliber too. If you're going to run 9mm carbine, right? Dead Horse, what are you thinking for maybe max barrel length on something like that? Like 8.5 inches, you're going to be fine? Or you notice the difference between 8.5 and 10.5? Or what do you think for 9mm? You guys have experience with them? Yeah.
I don't know. It kind of depends on if you want to go pistol or a rifle, but the 16-inch can have 357 mag numbers out of a 9mm. So
okay. So
it depends on the ammo you're shooting.
Okay.
I have 5.5, 8.5, 10.5, and 16-inch PCCs. And my favorite's the 16-inch, honestly. But the
Oh, wow.
5.5 is also a little fun gun too. But I like the 16-inch because it makes the 9mm fun. I mean, when you're pushing 357 Magnum.
Well,
You're talking velocities, not energy, right?
Velocity and energy when you're talking similar, like 125 grain core bond projectiles out of a 357 mag versus a 9mm.
Yeah.
I'm talking energy and velocity, yeah, because you're talking same grain weights or within 1 grain, 124 versus 125. But yeah,
Oh, wow.
you can not only get 357 mag numbers, if you hand load, you can exceed those.
Okay.
so I'm looking at building a pistol, and I'm going to put the blade fin on the end of it instead of the normal brace.
Sig brace or SB brace, SB
Yeah,
tactical.
yeah. I just want the fin. Okay, and I'm wondering, should I go 8, 7.5, 8, or should I just go 10? Because I want it to be short.
You should probably go 10 because anything more than 10 is overkill for 9mm. Just
Right.
personal opinion.
Okay. Dead Horse, what do you think?
I don't know. What are you going to use it for?
You want a close
might be
quarter
a car?
combat
This
setup?
could be a car gun or something like that. Or?
Yeah, I kind of want it just to be, like a short PCC, more or less.
I don't know. I have my little 5.5 inch is real fun. Fits in a car really nice. Fits in all sorts of small little bags that aren't necessarily gun bags, so it's not readily identifiable as like, oh, that's a gun bag. And especially with like a law folder on it or something like that, nice, small, compact. So I kind of like that little 5.5 inch I built just for multi-purpose.
I'll need some sort of upper that'll fit on an AR-15 upper.
Yeah, just any standard AR-15. A lot of guys like to go slick side. You don't necessarily need the shell deflector or forward assist.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Okay.
Let me see your hammer again, I strike real quick, will you?
It's a used hammer that I had lying
Can I
around.
just see that? Will you hold that back up real quick?
Is that the proper hammer for the PCC or not? Here.
It's an
Hold it
AR.
up higher, buddy. Okay, so cut that spur of that hammer off for me, will you, before you put your 9mm upper on that? That's one of the problems with the PCCs. Is it's a direct blowback design, and this hammer will come back and slap your trigger, and you'll get trigger slap, and you can actually break pins. And that's the main cause of it, is that spur of that hammer right there. So you just want to cut that off a little bit off that hammer.
So is that why they say that when you buy an actual dedicated pistol loader, which is what I've done, they'll say that it is 9mm or caliber multi. That's what they're saying, is it's got that spurt sanded down or whatever you want to call it, or reduced.
Possibly, probably depends on the company, because I've seen a lot of companies sell 9mm uppers or lowers that have just a standard mil spec hammer in them. So
what I'm going to do to basically mitigate that with mine, instead of cutting the spur off, I'm going to be running a very heavy buffer along with a AR-10 buffer spring in order to slow that bolt down enough that it won't cause that trigger slap, instead of taking material off of something that could more or less be detrimental to the function of the rifle.
Yeah. All right, so we've discussed, length just to get the basics out there, and I think I've seen barrel lengths that go out to like 24 inches. I saw a comment earlier where somebody was saying that 22 was a jumpy, maybe somebody was saying 22 inches is even more than what you really need. So, I go with whatever's going to work best for you. A lot of people will buy a barrel based off the looks or the way that it looks in the upper. They might like an 8. They might not really care if it's a 16 or 18, but they want the twisted fluted barrel. They want kind of a fancy looking up or something kind of blingy, right? I want to talk about, before we get into the gas systems, I want to talk about the material of the barrels. There's kind of a basic standard and then chrome line versus nitride or whatever you want to discuss. What about the actual material itself? What should you be looking for if you're going to buy a barrel or buy an upper? What do you want the barrel to be made out of?
So here's what I say about pretty much all the barrels, and I mostly double down on this on AK barrels when I build mine, is chrome line is for when you want to go full auto or when you have the ability to go full auto, because chrome line is much harder than nitride, and after the barrel heats up, that chrome lining will still stay there, whereas if you heat up a nitrided barrel through full auto fire, multiple mag dumps, is that nitriding will actually get released from the barrel because it's actually being absorbed. It it's been absorbed by the barrel by heat. So if you heat it up again, the metal will expand and then basically nullify whatever type of coating you have on the inside. So nitriding is good for semi-auto applications, and chrome line is for full auto applications.
Can chrome line have some accuracy issues if it's not done the right way, though?
Yes.
Yeah. So you'd want to definitely get it from a reputable manufacturer. You want to be really careful who you get the chrome line barrel from, right?
Yes.
All right, Dead Horse, what do you think about that, man? What, the lining of the barrels, does it really matter? I've never had a chrome line barrel in an AR before, and I'm not sure. I've never really, done a lot
The
of
chrome lining process has come a long way since the 60s. It really has. It's not the same repetitive horror stories that you hear about, especially from a company like FN. Anyone who's ever shot an FN Scar knows how accurate those guns can be with a pencil barrel with a chrome lined bore, and they're double chrome line. So most chrome lining is 1/10,000th of an inch, and then when you hear about a company like FN having a double chrome line barrel, well, that's 1/5000th of an inch. That's the actual amount of chrome in that barrel. And they also have really figured out over the years their process, so they're just much more accurate than what they really should be. For especially a chrome line barrel can't be accurate. It's really not that way anymore with a decent company doing it. Especially FN barrels. I mean, they're just really accurate.
Which, if you go through a company like PSA, you can pay a little extra and you can get the FN barrel, or you can get the cold hammer forged, they always call it the CHF FN barrel, which they're going to cost you more, but in the end, I think it's definitely money well spent if you're going to go that route.
And longevity and cleaning and stuff like that comes into play. And, and nitriding's not bad either. Nitriding's good stuff. It's definitely come a long way from parkerizing.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't seen the issues with nitriding under full auto that AWAG has. A lot of people out there right now are pretty convinced. A lot of reputable barrel manufacturers and guys who know a hell of a lot more than I do are pretty convinced nitriding's superior than chrome lining even in full autos. So it's all about who's doing the nitriding. And not all nitriding's the same. When you just hear, oh, it's nitrided or melanite or armornite finish, they're not all the same. There really is a lot of differences from company to company on how they're doing that process. So you definitely want to look at someone that's really doing it a very reputable way, like Smith & Wesson and the old melanite or the armornite's really kind of leading the way in with that.
And I'll be honest, I don't have that much experience with full autos, but I do look at how some of these barrels are manufactured and the process that it takes to, nitride and stress relieve and chrome line, and I just look at those and I make my own educated decisions. So even though I'm making my own decisions, it may not be 100% correct.
Oh, yeah. There is a question coming from the YouTube chat real quick. Calaveras 32 Special has a question. What are your thoughts on chromoly barrels? Thinking about it for a 308 build, aren't the majority of the barrel steels themselves, unless they're like a 516R stainless, aren't they like a 4150 or 5150?
What it is
vanadium. Yeah,
they're all basically a 4100 series steel.
Okay.
And so when you hear 4150 or 4140, what the difference is between the 50 and the 40 is the 50 has 0.5% carbon in it. The 40 has 0.4% carbon in it. So that's the difference between 4150 and 4140, is just one has 0.1% more carbon in it than the other.
So maybe going chromoly versus going stainless for the barrel, what would you recommend if somebody's going to choose? To me, I think somebody would choose a stainless barrel, just my opinion, because they like the looks of it. Maybe, I don't. Is there going to be some sort of an inherent advantage? I know it's stainless steel. I get that. But
It really depends on the barrel manufacturer. Stainless is a softer steel. It's a little bit easier to cut, so there's usually less bit chatter. So a lot of people tend to get a little bit better accuracy, especially out of cheaper barrels out of stainless. But like a mil-spec barrel is going to be 4150, what the actual military is using. And then you have machine gun steel, which is even a whole nother grade above that. But usually 4150 is the one I'd be probably looking at, unless, if you're going from a cheaper barrel manufacturer, like let's say maybe a Bear Creek Arsenal barrel,
Mhm.
then a stainless barrel is probably a good way to go. And there's even two different, there's 416 stainless and there's 416R stainless. So even between those two, there's the 416R is just a little bit step above, just like the 4150, just a little bit step above the 4140.
What about barrel life? If you're not mag dumping, just your average shooters are going to be an overall barrel life difference in your rifling if you're going the 40 versus 50, 4140 versus 4150. Because my AMD 63 has the US barrel on it. It was a 4140, and people were saying, "Oh, that thing's going to burn. It's going to burn out. You don't want to mag dump with it, or you don't want to, it's not the rifling's not going to hold up." Is there a difference that you think in the life of the barrel?
Look here. Here's the breakdown. Is if you have even a 4140 steel barrel, and you're just using it to plink around and maybe do a few competitions here and there, that barrel will outlive you. So it's all about care most of the time. If you're not using corrosive ammo or any type of old ammo, the barrel will definitely last you a very long time, well over 10,000 rounds.
All right. Dead Horse, what do you think about that, man? What are your thoughts on that?
It depends on the caliber, the powder you're using. A lot of that comes into play. A lot of it comes in what are you doing with it. I know guys who will throw away a barrel before it even gets to 1 MOA accuracy, whereas other guys 1 MOA accuracy is fantastic, right? They're super happy with that. So it really is, what are you using this for? But for the most part, most people aren't probably going to know the difference of whatever steel's in their barrel whatsoever as far as accuracy goes. More of the type of rifling is probably going to have more impact on that. Is it a cold hammer forged barrel? Is it a button rifle barrel? Is it a traditional cut rifle barrel? That's probably going to have more of an impact than what steel it is for barrel life.
I got my AR, my Ruger, September 2017, and I've probably put about 7,000 rounds through it, and it looks like the same it did the day I bought it. Now I've only
Heat's
mag
the
dumped.
killer. That's the
Yeah.
killer.
Well, the range that I go to is a 2-second rule, so I've only dumped maybe 15 rounds, like rapid fire through it, at my friend's backyard one day. So it's all been 2 seconds, but I've put tons of rounds through it in pretty, I guess a short amount of time. I don't know, a year is not that long, but it's still really good shape. But the caveat is I've only done one mag dump in it.
Were you running steel case ammo through that, or are you just purely brass every time?
No, I've never run steel through it.
Okay.
Maybe no. Let me take it back. I think I put about 10 rounds of steel through it the whole time I've had it. I usually just run factory Walmart brass.
Yeah. And I want to get to that. We'll get to the whole steel case. I mean, that's a whole episode in itself. You could yell back and forth on. I've got my own experience with steel case ammo. So I want to keep things rolling here. What about your rate of twist choice and the effect that's going to have on the ammo that you're choosing? Again, and this is all going to have a big influence on what your application is. So Dead Horse, for a 16-inch defensive carbine or range carbine or just something, I'm just thinking of like the basic Bear Creek Arsenal brown bear rifle, or maybe your DPMS Oracle or your Smith & Wesson M&P. What rate of twist do you want to go for? Like a 1-in-7, 1-in-8, 1-in-9? What's optimal? Does it really, I mean, for say 0 to 300 meters, what do you think?
I like the 1-in-8 because it puts to rest a lot of the bad info out there about 1-in-9s and 1-in-7s not being able to shoot certain grain weights. so you don't have to worry about those arguments if you go with a 1-in-8. So I really like the 1-in-8 twist. That's
so
what
look
I recommend.
for 1-in-8 twist. Those of you that might be doing some shopping, look for that. If that's now, what about a longer barrel? If you're going to go 20-inch barrel, 18-inch or 20-inch,
Still a 1-in-8.
1-in-8. Just if you go 1-in-8, you're going to be okay all the way around.
And
right?
this is for we're talking 5.56.
Yeah. I mean, then it's different when you get into 300 blackout and you get into 9mm and stuff like that. So
I like the 1-in-8 twist as well. In the military, we had a 20-inch barrel, heavy barrel, chrome lined with a 1-in-9-inch twist. We used 55 grain full metal jackets, and we were able to hit man-sized targets at 500 meters with open sights, no problem, all day long. Now, we did run 62 grain. We had to get those from the ground pounders. And I know nowadays 62 is the standard. And we ran those through our guns, and they did just fine. The 1 and 8 kind of gives you I don't want to say best of both worlds, but it gives you a little bit more leeway. It's still closer to that 1 and 9. And I know there's a lot of people, they don't shoot over 100 yards. They use an optic. They want to run the heaviest bullet they can. And, just people have different reasons why they do these things. It's funny when I go to the range and I see somebody shooting an AR-15 at 25 yards, can't hit the target, and they've got every Swiss Army knife accessory hanging off of this thing. They got it mounted to a lead sled. And I have people come up to me and they'll see me, I'm shooting offhand, and they'll come up to me and first thing they say is, look, he's got an old-timey gun, because mine has a carrying handle that's built into the upper. That's how long I've had one. But, then they go, why do you hold it that way? And, it's just, this is the way I learned. It works. And so everybody's got a different style. They got a different reason. There's a lot of newbies to this, and they see stuff on YouTube, or they see stuff on TV or movies or whatever. They want to copy what they see. They don't necessarily know what they're doing. There's a lot of people parroting bad information out there. The good thing is with this gun, it's so easy to take apart and change things out and do whatever, that if you get something you don't like, you can just tear it off and throw something else on there later. And it's not even really that expensive unless you want to go the really expensive route. And you don't have to. I hear people all the time, saying that they've got to have this and that and this. It's more of a preference thing, just to get out there and shoot it. Like was said earlier, unless you're doing a bunch of mag dumps to make up for the fact that, you're not accurate, you don't really have to worry about overheating these barrels or anything like that. So I think that the 1 and 8 twist, though, is a good baseline. And if you start shooting more niche kind of ammo, or shooting more niche kind of competitions with or something, then maybe you go with a different twist rate based on that.
If you go with the 1 and 9, because that's what my Bear Creek Arsenal brown bear is, it's a 1 and 9. Is that more of a 55 grain oriented rate of twist? Just
it was for us. My 20-inch FN is all GI, and everything is the same on it as the M16A2 I had, except for the select fire capability. Mm-hmm. And even when I do my reloads, I do everything in 55 grain full metal jacket or 55 grain full metal jacket boat tail, just to emulate what we used at the range.
Okay.
There's some people say, oh, you don't want that. You want 62 because it's armor piercing. It's like, no, dude, it's not armor piercing. And there's nothing wrong with 62. And for certain types of hunting or whatever, getting a really heavier weight like the 70 grains or something like that, there's nothing wrong with that. Or, like I said, for getting into it, if you get a rifle with a 1 and 8 twist, you kind of got a little bit of leeway either way. If you get a 1 and 9, I'm all for that too. Any of the other twist rates, I think, are more geared towards more specified kind of shooting. If it's long range shooting or competitive shooting or just something, you're using an oddball bullet weight. I usually reload between 50 grain and 62 grain and stay right in there. So even when I'm messing with something like an AMAX or VMAX or something like that, just messing around with some different kind of reload data, I still kind of stay in that, because all of our 5.56 ARs are 1 and 8 or 1 and 9 twists at our home. So it just makes it easier.
I would say a general rule of thumb that. Oh, go ahead, AWAC.
No, I was gonna go on a long rant, so you can go. I'll save my rant.
We have a question from the panel too, AWAC. Not to shorten you up, but I want to make sure we don't miss this one. But this could be an interesting one. But okay, go ahead, guys.
I would say that a general rule of thumb is a projectile that's almost understabilized is always more accurate than a projectile that's almost overstabilized. And there's a lot of myth out there that a 1 and 9 won't stabilize anything over 55 grain or whatnot. That is absolutely not true. I shoot 70 and 77 grain projectiles out of a 1 and 9 twist all the time, and with sub-minute of accuracy. And a lot of other professionals will tell you the exact same thing, that's just such a horseshit or horse myth out there that it's really sad to see this stuff repeated over and over again about these barrel twist rates. And 1 and 7 can definitely overstabilize a projectile, and you can get horrible accuracy out of a 1 and 7, where a 1 and 9 usually stabilizes everything 77 grain down very, very, very well. And that's why I recommend the 1 and 8, is just to try and stay out of those arguments between the 1 and 7 and 1 and 9 guys.
Yeah. Well, you know, a lot of people might just buy a gun because it's on sale and not even know or care. Like, oh, it's 1 and 7, cool. It's on sale. I'll buy it. You know.
And I mean, you can get 1 and 10, you can get 1 and 12, you can get 1 and 14. The military's used 1 and 12 and 1 and 14 before, and some of that stuff kind of. It all goes back to application. If you want to copy what the military did at a certain time, make sure that you're using the same kind of ammo or whatever it is. It's not that that's the right way. It's just one of several ways. That's another great thing about this platform is you can change out so many different things about it. Unfortunately, that just brings up 15,000 questions, doesn't it?
Now, I was going to go on my little rant, but Dead Horse kind of nailed it on the head. It really. The 1 and 9 twist, which I've actually come around to actually like a lot, because I used to hate 1 and 9. I was like, I was in that mindset that it wasn't, stabilizing them enough to stabilizing the heavy bullets enough to get good accuracy out of it. But once I got my Howa Mini action, I started playing around with hand loads. I did more research on bullet stabilization and how it works. And it all has to do with the RPM of the bullet when it leaves the muzzle. See, when the bullet is stabilized, you can have, say, a 14-inch 1 and 7 twist, and it'll throw that bullet out at, I don't remember how many RPM. Let's just use 100,000 RPM.
No, around
for
300,000.
Yeah, let's use 300,000 as a baseline. Whereas if you have a 22-inch barrel that's a 1 and 9, it could still get that same bullet twisting about that same rate. So it's all in ratios, It's what people gloss over is what they see as twist rate is the end all be all of the barrel, and they associate twist rate with barrel stabilization, and then they completely gloss over the fact that everything is intertwined with each other. Like your barrel length and your barrel twist will actually determine what kind of accuracy you get out of the barrel.
Yeah. Question for everybody here. This is coming from Yoder, Texas. What does the panel think would have been a better choice in caliber for the AR-15 military platform? 5.56 versus 308, or what do you guys think is going to be the caliber of the future? Do you think we should move away from 5.56? Do we need to go more of one of the 6.5 variants, or what do you guys think?
I think.
There's.
I can answer this question.
Do it
with certainty. We're going to go with whatever caliber NATO goes with. So if NATO stays 5.56, we're going to stay 5.56. All this stuff about they're going to use 6.5. You might see small unit tactics and special groups, and they've got a budget for this, and because there are certain elite units that get access to non-standard stuff, or they even dredge up old stuff and keep using old stuff, or they have armors that will modify their guns. But for the standard infantry or that sort of thing, for the standard service person, they're going to use whatever NATO used. There's a myth that we went to 9mm from 45 because of all this, 9mm is better, or the capacity, or blah, 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 blah. And capacity did have a little bit to do with it. But really, it's cheaper. NATO. No, it has nothing to do with the price. NATO. We wanted to use the same ammunition our allies use. So unless our allies, in mass, change their caliber, or their handgun, or their infantry rifle, their standard, not their special elite units, or any of this stuff, until they change it, we're not going to change en masse. Small units that have something specialized has been around forever. So watch and see what NATO does.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, because the cost doesn't matter. I mean, I was watching a video on the SR-71 Blackbird, and if you saw what it cost to develop that plane, I don't think the military really cares what stuff costs.
And if you paid for ammo, what the military paid for ammo, you'd be throwing a party. They buy so much of it. They, and some of these things about, there's a shortage on this, a shortage on that, because we're at war and the military is buying up all. No, that's not true either. So the military buys this stuff in the trillions of rounds. I mean, we had ammunition in the 1990s. It was made in the 1960s. This stuff is warehoused. It's all over the place. And yeah, they shoot more of it than we can ever imagine because there's so many of them and they're doing a lot of training. But just the fact is that the cost isn't really going to be a factor. Sometimes weight is a factor. Sometimes it's the compatibility with the existing platform. Can we keep using some of the existing stuff where everybody's familiar with it? The parts are interchangeable, the tools are interchangeable. And then every now and then they just wipe the slate clean. But until we break away from NATO, we're not going to be going it alone for our standard caliber, for our standard sidearm and our standard infantry rifle.
That makes sense. It's kind of interesting comment here from Rich White. I kind of like this. He says, Squib's right. We went 9mm because of NATO, but NATO went 5.56 because of us.
Well, you also have to remember that when you're talking about military budgets and state government spending, they're not spending actual money. You know, so the numbers, you could make it $1 trillion per bullet, and they don't care because they're not actually spending that money. That's just all pretend figures. But if you want to go into Walmart and buy 1,000 rounds of 38 special, you need actual money to do that.
Yeah. So let's get into, because this question came up and Sketchy had asked a question. Does anybody know of an 11.5 or 12.5 inch barrel with a mid-link gas system? Let's talk about gas systems real quick, because when you go to buy an AR-15, let's say you're going to buy a complete barreled assembly, a complete upper. You got the idea of the carbine link gas system, or you could go with the mid-link gas system or rifle link gas system. Dead Horse, can you explain the differences between those people that might not understand?
Well, yeah, there's a pistol length gas system, a Spectre length gas system, carbine length, mid length, and rifle length. And usually an 11 or 12.5, that's called a pistol dissipator barrel with the mid length gas system. And usually they have uncorking issues and cycling issues. So I would generally tend to stay away from those unless they're suppressed, unless you're specifically running a suppressor. Usually around 14 inches in a mid length is about the shortest barrel you want to go with the system without running into issues.
The designation then of the gas system, is it due to the length of the gas tube? Is that what decides if it's a carbine length or mid or rifle length?
Yeah, usually like 7-inch, 9-inch, 11.5. Yeah, so it's for carbine and or even a pistol length gas system at like 4 inches. So
I didn't buy my first mid-length up or mid-length gas system upper until about 2 years ago. In my opinion, I think it's lighter shooting. Is that just psychological, or is there less felt recoil when you go mid-length?
It's the impulse. Okay. It's not necessarily less recoil. It's just it changes the impulse.
And does it have a difference in longevity of the bullet carrier group and the rifle itself when you go mid-length versus? I've heard that the carbine systems are overgassed, that they just tear apart the bullet carrier group. They're much more violent in the actual action itself, and it can wear out the parts faster. Is that true or not?
That really depends on the barrel and the gas port size, because I've run into a lot of mid-lengths that sure seem overgassed also. So a lot of companies, especially companies producing barrels en masse, like to put that out there to make their systems overgassed just for reliability issues. So you're not calling them back up saying, hey, my rifle's not working, and they don't care if it breaks at 5,000 or 10,000 rounds, 10 years down the road on you.
Oh yeah.
But they don't want you calling up the next week saying, hey, this thing doesn't work.
So if you're going with the basic direct impingement gas system, for those of you that are thinking about buying an AR-15 versus a piston system, the direct impingement is going to use a gas tube. And what do you mean by overgas for people that might not understand?
Just the gas port size. The gas port size is just a little bit too large, and you're getting just a lot more gas and pressure. The bulk carrier group and the bolt's actually acting like a piston, right? Itself is acting like a piston, and you're over-gassing it. You're putting too much pressure inside that, so you get a lot of blowback, and you're just putting a lot more unneeded force and pressure into that system needed to actually operate it reliably. But once those guns get super dirty or muddy or stuff like that, that's where those overgas systems kind of shine, because they're able to sludge through a lot of that stuff, where a rifle link gas system is much more prone to failure once it gets super, super dirty or mud or dirt in it.
And then mid-length is a mid-length, kind of a nice compromise between carbine and rifle reliability, impulse.
Yep. I'm a big fan of the mid-length gas system. I really am. But on my home defense guns, I have carbine linked gas systems. I want them uber reliable. I don't care about it breaking 10 years down the road.
Yeah, because that was something that as I had known within the last 5 or 6 years, as I've really been getting into understanding how the AR-15 works, the differences in the different gas systems, and I like the cool look of the rifle system, but then you hear that it might not be as reliable. What about piston versus direct impingement? Going with a piston system, is it worth it in the end for just the average buyer to go the piston route because of ease of cleaning? Is there reliability enhancements by going piston versus DI? What do you think?
On the AR platform, I'd say that piston systems are more prone to being unreliable than a direct impingement system from personal experience. And I own some pretty nice POF piston guns. And, I'm not going to say they're not reliable, but they're just the gun wasn't designed to be a piston gun.
Yeah.
And so you have all sorts of carrier tilt issues. And then they've tried to fix those issues, but still, it wasn't designed for it. And it is nice to clean these guns, the piston guns. Sure, it is nice, but realistically, I'm direct impingement all the way.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, not realistically, but mechanically, the AR-15 really isn't a direct impingement gun. It acts like one, but it's mechanically not. It's the bolt head actually acts as the piston, whereas true direct impingement is just the gas pushing the bolt carrier back in order to cycle the gun, whereas in the AR-15 there's gas going into the gas key that's basically forcing the carrier and the bolt face apart so that it will then move back under its own weight.
Yeah.
That's why you have those the gas key rings on the bolt head, because there's gas going into the bolt carrier that acts like an expansion chamber.
So when you're looking at a piston-driven system, you're going to spend a lot. Well, you may spend a lot more money, you may not, but don't think that you necessarily need it because it's going to be better, or because the YouTube video said it was the best way to go. If you want to just look at what's typically used and what's working, say for the military or for a lot of people that do a lot of shooting, you're going to be fine just going with the standard gas system, with the DI system, or as it comes. David, did you have a question about that, about the piston-driven ARs? Was there something you were going to say?
Oh no.
Oh, okay.
I would say I'll add one more thing to that. I would say if you do go with the piston gun, buy a complete upper from LWRC or POF from a reputable manufacturer. Some of these add-on kits that I've seen just are really hit or miss.
Tuesday night, 9 o'clock.
Yep. And I would definitely go with a complete upper, because then when you do run into issues, or a complete gun, because then you have someone there to back you up on it.
What's your opinion on those wolf uppers, those Taiwanese military issue uppers? Do you think those are? I think those are. I'd love to put one of the, what is like a 14.5 inch that they, or 12.5 inch pistol lower.
Where do you find them?
You can buy them. I think they're carried by Primary Arms carries them. If you just look for the Wolf, what they call like a T41 upper or something like that.
Athletic Firearms has them, and I was looking at them actually today because I think they're pretty sick looking.
I think they look awesome. I mean, they're $400 or $450 or something like that. But I just think they're, yeah. You guys aren't familiar with it. It's a piston-driven complete upper that's imported from Taiwan. It's basically the military issue upper that the Taiwanese Army carries, and you can get them in a 16-inch and then I think a 14.5 inch, or no, like a 12.5 inch. So the 12.5 inch, if you want to do an SBR build, that would be perfect for you. Or if you've got a pistol lower and you want to run a 5.56 upper, you can go this route. They're really cool looking, but they've got a built-in front sight that I believe flips up, and then they've just got a Picatinny rail section on the top of the receiver. But I'll show you guys what I'm talking about here in a second. Do you guys have any experience with those at all? Any of you here have one of those?
Sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
I'm going into basically a dead zone.
Okay.
So I'm probably just go subscribe to everybody else on the channel here. Definitely check out my channel, full of weird gunness and a few video games. So I'll leave it at that. Have a nice night, you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, man. Take care. Take care. Cool. Thanks, man. All right. So this is what is the T91 is what I'm talking about. I'm sorry. Who is it? Was it Atlantic Firearms that sells those? I'll see if I can find some and show them off to you real quick. I'm just kind of curious because they're kind of an oddity because they don't have a dust cover. They don't have a forward assist on them either. And like I said, they run almost as much as, well, more than you can get from rifles.
I like the handguards on that A1 upper. Look at that.
What do you got?
Here, screen share.
Okay.
Where's the screen share button? There it is. But look at this. Look at the handguards on that. That looks awesome. Granted, I don't like it doesn't have a bayonet look, but again, I love.
Yeah, the Wolf A1. I think it's also called the T91 or something like that. I'm not sure if they'd changed the name on it, but that is also a piston-driven system. So I mean, I would trust one of those systems just because of the lineage of it and the fact that it is seeing current use. Of course, they're using it with full auto lowers in that Army or a burst fire or whatever it is that they use. So
But remember, even if they're T41 or T95 or whatever they're calling it, their T thing, it's still a derivative that they just got the plans from the United States government to build their own. That's all I did. It's still built to whatever specifications were on the piece of paper they got, when they bought the tooling.
Here's the Atlantic Firearms version that I was telling you guys about. This is the 12-inch. They call it 12-inch SBR. And it is a complete upper for $449, but you could use that on a pistol lower if you wanted to, and you would not have an SBR as long as you've got your lower designated as as an AR pistol. But again, like I said, they don't even really have a shell deflector on them or forward assist. Okay, so they do have a dust cover. I wasn't sure if they had that or not, but that's kind of an interesting design. It's kind of a weird take on it, man. What do you guys think about that? Pretty cool.
The actual gas system, the actual piston system there looks like a copy of the Gen 1 POF system to me. And that is similar to what it is, where that little knob in the front, so you'll have a suppressed option and a normal and a non-suppressed option. And the actual piston system looks really, really close to a POF Gen 1 system. And if that's the case, those were pretty bulletproof.
Yeah.
I would call it more like soldier proof.
Yeah. I think they're cool, but man, I just can't bring myself to spend, the $450 on them, but they're awesome. But yeah.
Now you said it's soldier proof, but is it squib lift proof?
I didn't say marine proof.
Yeah, we can break anything. At least I know I can break anything.
Break anything. Yeah, if they're not made out of Play-Doh. Not made out of Play-Doh.
Hey, my M16 broke before it even left the armory. That's how I ended up humping an M60. So I can break stuff without even touching it.
You did that intentionally. You knew that that's all they had for a replacement. Well, we're going to have to give you this. All right. Thanks, man. Oh, man, that's crazy. All right. So anything else about the barrels that you guys want to get out there? I mean, we're just barely scratching the surface on it. Dead Horse brands from the low end to the high end. Can you make any recommendations because of all the builds you've done? I mean, I trust everybody's opinion on the panel that has one or has used one. I'm a PSA fan. I'm a Bear Creek Arsenal fan. But on the lower end, what do you think for barrels?
I've had really good luck with the Bear Creek. I mean, I've bought barrels from Bear Creek Arsenal for $50, and they were way, way more accurate than what they should be. I mean, I just can't believe that company can put together a barrel that's that accurate for $50 or for $100 or, for similar price ranges like that. I can't believe it. I don't know what kind of fairy dust they're using there, but they're definitely doing something. And I'm talking even just using, not even reloading for them, just factory ammo, like their 7.62 by 39 barrel that I paid $50 is twice as accurate as a barrel that I paid over $150, a 7.62 by 39 no-fail barrel. So I don't know what they're doing there. They're 6.5 Grendels, absolutely accurate. So Bear Creek, I can definitely recommend them as far as accuracy goes. I'm sure that they have their issues, and I'm sure that they put out a couple lemons in their time.
Yeah.
The ones that I've got have just been absolutely phenomenal. So personally, I can't say anything bad about those guys. I did get one bad bull carrier group from them, but they took care of it. And, the next step up, I would say PSA. It seems a lot of their Freedom barrels are made in-house now, and they are really, really solid. They went and actually bought a barrel company instead of just trying to start from scratch. They bought a reputable barrel company and started, pumping out their own barrels in-house. So PSA is putting out a good, accurate barrel, and I would consider that more of like the next step up, maybe from Bear Creek. And then the next step up from that would be something like a Faxon or a ballistic advantage barrel,
Okay.
either one of those companies. And then the next step up from that, I would say, look, if you want absolute accuracy, look no farther than Schillen or White Oak.
Does PSA sell the FN barrels or not?
Oh yes, they do. Yeah, that's where I've gotten most of my FN barrels from, is from PSA.
Yeah, I've never done a build, so I've never been looking at but I didn't start looking at barrels themselves until I chose this topic, and I was like, ooh, let's look into it. Let's get in the nuts and bolts of barrels, you know? And I mean, and then there's all these different types and spiral and fluted and whatever.
I'll tell you what, I have several different chrome line barrels from Colt and stuff. The FN for being chrome line barrels are way more accurate than what they should be. You don't even know they're chrome lined. I mean, you can easily squeeze one MOA out of these barrels. They're absolutely amazing.
What are we looking at for price typically? Are we looking like 150 or?
Oh no, more like 250 for the barrel. Yeah,
because I noticed
you usually can get a complete upper for 400. You know, so sometimes it's just better to go that complete upper. But if you're looking just a barrel, usually around 250. They're definitely not cheap. And if you're looking like a White Oak barrel, you're looking more in the 400 and up range. Or for a Schillen barrel.
In your opinion, is it really money well spent?
Depends on what you're doing with it.
Okay.
Like if I was just plinking and stuff, no, I don't think you need a White Oak barrel. But if you're actually shooting competition or you're trying to shoot little dime-sized groups, yeah, I mean, that White Oak barrel, that the barrel really is the heart of your gun. It really is. It doesn't matter what you do in your reloading, what other fancy parts you have on your gun. If you don't have a good barrel, well, then you're not going to have that accuracy. So, and the type of rifling really matters, whether it's traditional cuts, usually considered the most accurate type of rifling, but it's also the most expensive. And then arguably button versus a cold hammer forged barrel, that's a good argument there. And I think that argument really comes down to the company that was making the barrel. So I've had button rifle barrels that are super accurate. I have a stainless cold hammer forged barrel right in front of me. That's it's a stainless steel 416R, and usually they don't cold hammer regular 416 stainless because they can't take those stresses, but the 416R can. And the 416R stainless barrel's absolutely phenomenal. It's a 14.5 inch barrel that's sub MOA all day. It actually shoots 0.3 inch groups. And that's from the factory I got it from that actually shot it before they even sent it to me. So that not only have they tested it, I've tested it and verified it. 0.3 inch groups in a 14.5 inch barrel.
Oh my God. Jeez, that is crazy, man. We do have a question from the YouTube side, and I honestly don't know how to answer this one. Wilson Combat AR-15s. I mean, I'm looking at them right now. They seem to be very, very high end. They seem to be very, very well built. They're using a lot of really good high grade materials in the construction and build. Weight is definitely an importance on that. What do you guys think about I haven't done any reading up on the Wilson Combat ARs at all. Any of you guys have any experience with those, or been doing any reading on them?
I have no personal experience with the Wilson Combat AR-15s other than if I was to buy something Wilson Combat, it would probably be one of their 1911s.
Yeah.
After the recent video released by Wilson Combat, I cannot buy any complete firearm or subassembly from them. I might buy components, I might buy mags, but I just don't know that I want to buy a complete firearm or an upper or lower or something to that effect from them. I don't know if you saw that video, the 1911. It was about a couple different things, but the big thing was dropping the slide on a Wilson Combat 1911 on an empty chamber. So that right there tells me that they might build expensive guns. They might build safe queens. They might build guns that you can brag about. They might have a lot of precision, but they can't handle it in the real world.
So let's look at this real quick. Let's look at a Wilson Combat AR. Okay, before we like I said, that's also something very important to keep in consideration. So this is their recon model. Okay, this is the MSRP of $2,250. You got all these different calibers you can choose from. So 16 inch, 7 pounds. We've got a billet, flat top, and lower receiver. Wilson Combat Recon Tactical Match Grade Barrel. Mid-link gas system with low-profile gas block, threaded muzzle with Q-comp flash hider, M-lock rail, armor tough finish, BCM gunfighter grip, Wilson Combat Tactical Trigger Guard, Wilson Super Stock, Wilson Combat M2 two-stage triggers, Premium mil-spec bolt and bolt carrier, MP inspected, MP3 coded. But you see that on so many other parts. Mil-spec hard anodized. Is there anything here that you guys think would give you an edge over something, say a third of the cost of this? If you could get something with the similar, you think the barrel would make a big difference? They said they use stainless steel barrels. We're
Well,
talking.
I'm sure they're using like Lilja blanks or Schillen blanks or something. So I'm sure they're using quality barrels. I'm not sure if they're actually, doing them in house or not.
Yeah.
I'm suspecting since they're mainly a 1911 manufacturer, some of these parts probably have to be outsourced. So I'm not sure how much of this is actually built in house by Wilson.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how much of it they're just slapping their name on or not. But I don't have any personal experience with them. But I haven't heard anything bad about them either.
Yeah.
But that is a pretty penny compared to something that's more proven like Noveski.
Yeah, I'm saying 2250. I mean that granted, you're probably looking at more like $19.99 off the shelf at your local gun store. It is a nice looking rifle. I mean, I do like that lower and how they kind of changed the lower a little bit, lower receiver. You can see they got the little angled trigger guard in there, and you're going to have a nice 2-stage trigger. And I mean, and if you were to drop in premium parts in your AR, take your basic carbine or take your basic whatever, and you were to upgrade the parts, you could get into the $1,000 or $1,500 range if you're starting off with a budget priced AR and work your way up the ladder. And this isn't bad. I'm just saying, wow, 2250s, especially if you're just going to go 5.56. If I'm going to spend that kind of money, I would go with something a little bit different, but that's just me. I mean, it definitely has the parts on, and you are going to be paying for the name, the lineage and so on. But I can't say I have any experience with them.
For that kind of money, I would look
yeah.
at AR-15. So those are the old employees that used to work at Noveski back when John was at Noveski.
Mm-hmm.
But AR-15, I would go look at their rifles. They're basically, for all intents and purposes, the old Noveski that we all grew to love. So AR-15, I'd go look at their guns. So it's all the old employees of Noveski that worked under John and started their own company.
What's changed with Noveski in your opinion since? Because I love the rifles, and I mean it's a tragedy that Big Pharma had to kill off the founder of the company. But what's your take on? I mean, what's changed? So you're saying maybe you should go the other route and has the quality control gone down, or are they just kind of using the name? What's that?
I think so. I think it's more about the name. It's really turned into more of a brand, and I definitely think the quality, from what I've seen personally, owning their lowers and owning barrels that were actually, done by John versus new barrels that were not done by John, I can definitely tell a difference. So.
Okay. That's
I hope
interesting.
I hope we don't have a conversation about this in the future about Whataburger.
You mean like quality?
I
do want to say one thing about it. I was talking to a buddy of mine about that. We'll take a little 30-second break from talking about guns. My friend, a great friend of mine, I consider him one of my best friends. He does live down in Texas, and he said it was the company wanted to go nationwide. They want to make a huge franchise out of it and go nationwide, and they don't have the resources to do it. So that's why they sold out, so the brand could go nationwide, which means selling out to a huge corporation with the funds to do so. They could retain the quality and the standards and be very consistent. Love it or hate it, the Chick-fil-A that we have here in Nebraska, the food, the quality, the service, it's identical to what I experienced down in Texas or Oklahoma. It can be done, but then we always say, well, big corporation bought it out. The service is going to go down. So see, look, we're having a Whataburger chat right now. But I was told the reason why the family sold out, it wasn't because of necessarily money, because they want to see it go big and go nationwide, and maybe it's time to really expand it. But in the same sense, you're going to lose that family-owned kind of tradition and heritage and so on. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that. So that's burger chat, right? Hey, I wouldn't complain if they put a Whataburger up here. I mean, I would definitely know if there's a difference between it or not. And a lot of it can have to do with the training and the service and that day, how that employee made your food and whatnot. But I don't know. Any thoughts on Whataburger before we move to our next topic?
I've still never ate at Whataburger. We've never had one here, so I still can't relate to what you guys are talking about or the quality of the food. So.
Yeah.
I
love it.
It's good. It's not as great as everybody says, but it's not bad at all. It's good, but I think it gets a lot of hype. I think it's great if they want to go nationwide. I think I have no idea why they limited themselves to only like 4 states to begin with. I mean, as far as I know, they started out of Texas, and I had to drive my family all the way to freaking New Mexico so they could try this stuff out. So, you know, but
Did you miss Oklahoma? You could have just hit Oklahoma and then turned around and went home.
We are in Oklahoma as little as possible. We cannot stand being in that state. So drove right past the Wanamaker billboard a week before the gun show, just as fast as I could too, until I had to stop at another damn toll booth. But I think it's great that they're going nationwide, but it kind of ties into the whole, you know, firearms manufacturer or firearms component manufacturer, whatever. You know, if they have an investment group come in to expand the business, but they keep their core values and their core quality control, stuff like that, that's great. But when the business gets sold and the new investment group tries to find ways to water down everything, whether it be hamburgers or whether it be barrels, we all suffer.
That cost for profit.
Yeah, because really, at the end of the day, there are a lot of people that manage businesses that are not. I'm in the auto industry. You would not believe how many people here call the shots in all these different factories and stuff that are not car guys. They might drive expensive cars because the company buys them an expensive car. They're not car guys. You would think that everybody in the auto industry is a motorhead. We're not. So you got probably the same thing in the firearms industry. We have people that, as long as this thing is making money, or the profit margins there, or when they're having their meetings, their pie charts and graphs look good. But I mean, it's really up to us as consumers to share knowledge like this, so we can go with some of the better, more reputable brands. And when something goes downhill, because Freedom Group bought them, you know, we can use this media to network out and let everybody know, hey, you know, hopefully you've got one of the older ones because the new ones are crap now. But I don't think we should automatically assume the new ones are crap, like Whataburger, possibly going bad, right? Because it does get bought out. You have to give it a chance first. Then you can.
Yeah. There are a few people that just said, no, it'll be the same. The company buying it, you would think the corporation would know that if it doesn't work, they're going to let a lot of people down and it's going to be a flop. Because there's been other businesses that have tried to do that, like Blimpie and not necessarily Quiznos, but like Schlotsky sandwiches and stuff. It started in a certain region and expanded, and then the price of it and the greed, the motivation, pretty much just took the company down. So I don't know. Interesting. Any final thoughts on barrels at all before we move on to our next topic? Anything you guys want to say at all? Any? I think we kind of covered the gamut of what to think about. Yeah.
I'll say one more thing real quick. Decide what your main purposes are going to be for your barrel, and then go look what the experts in that field are using and duplicate them. You know, guys who really throw a lot of rounds down range, guys who are winning their competitions or trophy hunts or whatnot, and go search out those experts to see what they're using in those specific fields that you want to get into.
Yeah, our range has this thing called the Steel Gong Challenge, where they take it out to, I don't know how far, like 1,200 or 1,800 yards or even further. And it'd be neat to see what kind of a setup the winning contestant has. What barrel did this person go with? Or, I mean, they're using bolt actions, but it gives you an idea. Or who's winning the 3-gun competitions with the most accurate shots. Just say, I don't want to know your secrets, but I got to know, what is that barrel? What did you buy it from? You know? Because again, somebody would probably be more than happy to share their experience with you, just because of the nature of the kind of people we are. So
a barrel I want to try out is the Anderson RF-85 barrel. They coat some of their components in their barrel with this stuff called RF-85. It's some sort of RF, I think it stands for reduced friction or whatever it is. It's supposed to reduce wear, et cetera. As far as I know, it's used in some industrial applications as well to reduce wear on tooling or things of that nature. So I know it's not cheap, but somewhere down the road, I want to get one of their uppers and try it out and just see. It's supposed to be something too that helps with cleaning. That's one of the reasons.
Oilless.
Okay.
Yeah, it's supposed to be lubeless. You're not supposed to need any lube on it. Well, it's not that you can't use lube, but they claim that you don't have to use any lube whatsoever.
But I thought that kind of helped with the whole cleaning thing. That's part of the whole chrome lining in the military. It was initially about a full auto thing, but later on it became kind of also about maintenance and cleaning. So I would still oil it, even if they said you don't need to. But I'm just wondering if it might make it a little bit easier to break up carbon buildup and that sort of thing. One of these days I'll spend the money and try it out.
Well, much like nitriding is not really a coating, it's actually a metal treatment that actually penetrates several micron layers deep into the metal. the RF-85 is similar, except they're using calcium instead of like a salt bath, instead of a nitride salt bath, or nitrided salts. They're using a calcium on that RF-85 to actually penetrate the molecular fabric of the metal. So I know they're using like a calcium to do that with. So I would be curious too. I don't have any. I have a lot of Anderson lowers and stuff, but I don't have anything that's RF-85.
I asked them if they were going to start selling individual components coated in that stuff, and they said somewhere down the road they have a plan to, but for right now, I think they just sell barrels and uppers and complete rifles, and that's it. So it'd be nice to see some of the other stuff in there. I'm looking at it more from a cleaning aspect, but for those that are not good about, and when I say clean too, I mean after you're done cleaning it, you oil it. There's some people that never clean their stuff, and some people are really bad about lubrication and that sort of thing. And fouling can build up in things like the gas tube, the barrel, right there at the chamber, definitely all over the bolt and bolt carrier group. So fouling in that platform is a big issue. It's always been a big issue. If you maintain it, you'll be fine. But if you can buy a little bit of less maintainability, it's not worth, or it's not. It depends on what you're willing to spend on it, but it may be worth it to some people who, even though that platform is so easy to take apart and clean, some people just, they don't do it. I recommend you clean that particular platform religiously. It just as many jams as it has.
Well,
That's its one Achilles heel.
I may be wrong about this, Squib, is that I believe that the RF-85 is that they're saying that a lot of lube will trap carbon and stuff like that. And I want to say I remember reading that Anderson recommends that you don't lube the RF-85 because then it just defeats the purpose of the
I know,
RF-85.
but it's an old habit. I mean,
I
we used to
know. I
spray
feel the same way.
CLT.
I feel the same way.
Hey, we sprayed
I got to put
CLT on the
CLT on
links.
everything, man. It's terrible.
Well, we would spray it on the links for the 20 millimeter ammunition for the Gatling guns on our Cobra helicopters because it would help feed through the whole system there. If we ran them dry, like the manual said, we actually would get jams. So I mean, plus we
That's
were
because it was
in a lot of,
engineers talking and not soldiers.
yeah, I guess
In
so.
the manual.
But we were in a lot of saltwater environments too. So it's an old habit. It's really hard to break. And that may be something where if I ever do spend the money on it, maybe I try it with and without. But I know what you're saying too, because when you do oil the crap out of something to keep it running or to keep it from corroding, you also attract dust and dirt. I think that's one of the reasons why when they set in storage, ARs and M16s just attract dirt. We used to have to take ours out of the armory and clean them once a month, whether we used them or not, because just sitting in there, they would just soak up. But we oiled everything. We left a coating of oil on everything. So, and the barrel, you can't run enough patches down the barrel. You can't run the brush down it enough times. When you think it's clean, there's still dirt in there. So I want to reemphasize that with that platform, cleaning it is important. Lubricating is important, but Dead Horse is right. The downside to the lubricant is it just draws in more dirt, and dust will jam that mechanism.
Now, that coating you guys are talking about, is that just on the barrel or is that also on the bolt carrier group? Is it?
Yeah, even on the receivers.
Yeah, it's on most of the components. I think stuff like the trigger, it's not on there, but like on the components it is. I think it's on the charging handle. It's like Dead Horse was saying, it's impregnated into the steel. It's a process, but they did tell me there are a few components that are not moving parts or not something that would be affected by this that are not treated with the RF-85, even if you buy the complete rifle.
If it's not a friction point, there's really no point. If it
Right,
doesn't, if it's not going to be an issue, then
yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. All right. I'm trying to think if we had any other questions. There was just a question: how much did you spend on an AR barrel? Again, it depends on the application. I just said, if you're doing a build and you want a good barrel, just go the FN route. You really can't go that. It's going to be worth the extra $100 or $200 you're going to pay for the barrel, just because, especially if it's something you're going to keep for a long time. The longevity, the accuracy, the quality, it's just worth it to go. Yeah, definitely don't buy your barrel off wish.com. That was the one thing I would say to you if you're going to do that. It's kind of a joke from Calaveras earlier in the podcast. So let's see here. Okay, so the next topic that we have, and this is kind of a funny one. Well, I don't know if it's funny, but this was a comment that somebody made late into the show last week or 2 weeks ago. And I think they were being serious. They just said, hey, what are your thoughts on 25 ACP for self-defense? And it's funny that comment came up because I just happened to be visiting the Hornady website, and they have a new critical defense 25 ACP round they just came out with. I think there's going to be a resurgence of 25 ACP. Now, granted, when you go to Classic Firearms, I think there's only one gun that they actually have chambered in 25 ACP. That's the little Phoenix Arms. And when we're looking at 25 ACP here, velocity on that critical defense round, I don't know how many grains it is off the top of my head, but 900 feet per second out of the barrel, a whopping 63 foot-pounds of energy, and it's shooting a half-inch low out of the barrel automatically. 25 ACP, and again, people are already saying, why are we even having this discussion? Why would you care? You know, you might get a little bit curious about those little Phoenix Arms guns because they're only $129. You guys have any experience? I mean, I would not want to be on the receiving end of say 8 of those critical defense 25 ACP rounds. I'm sure they can do some serious damage if they want to. But what do you guys think about 25 ACP? Are we going to see a resurgence of it now that Hornady's got a new critical defense 25
No.
ACP round?
Nope. No. I had a little Raven 25, and I just remember shooting different types of mediums, whether it was phone books or stuff like that. That 22 long rifle always seemed to penetrate way, way better. And I'm questioning that 900 feet per second. That must have been out of a longer 4 or 5 inch barrel. I doubt that. I doubt that was out of a 2 or 3 inch barrel that you're probably going to more commonly find in a 25 ACP.
Yeah, it's a
30.
30. I
question that 900 feet per second. I really do. I want to say it was more, at least out of the Raven. And granted, I guess, there's different powders and stuff out there, but I want to say it was more like in the 750, 700 range.
Okay, now this says 2-inch test barrel.
Wow. So
and I'm going to say one thing: Hornady does test ammunition at my range because they've got guys that are out there all the time shooting because they're only 80 miles away from our range, and we've got one of the premier ranges that goes out to 2,000 yards. They do have their chronographs right there. They are recording all the data, and they do multiple shots. I've seen the logbooks that these guys use. They're very serious about what they do when they test their ammo. So it must be a wonder round or something. I don't know. Is there a possibility they're using a higher
probably different powder? Probably, yeah.
I was just saying the powder quality is going to be
more powder. Yeah.
Maybe tuned to produce a little more velocity than what you're going to get out of, say, some bulk 25 ACP ammo. Here's the thing: if you've got a 25 ACP, or if your grandma's got one, any gun, in my opinion, is better than no gun. All right, and we're not going to talk about training today, but I would rather have that on me just because the side of it, or if you actually have to let one off, that could be a deterrent to save your life. So I don't want to mock you at all. If you've got a 25 ACP, I just want to say that if you step up to 380, for the heck of it, I just looked at Critical Defense 380 ACP, and it's got 4 times the energy that the 25 ACP has. So go to a 380 minimum or step up to a 9 and go from there if you want. I mean, handguns have gotten so small anymore, depending on what you want to spend. You can get a good, the SIG, P365, it isn't much larger than this Raven Firearms 25 ACP, right? And I mean, the Ravens are fun to play around with, and I know they make a 22 also, and they make a little target kit you can get for it. But I would say for the 25 ACP, probably steer clear. If you're going to do anything, go with, say, a 22 long rifle, maybe as a revolver or a semi-automatic, or go 22 Magnum if you're going to do anything. Because I mean, 22 Magnum, there's some pretty serious rounds out there you can pick up for it that again could do some serious defensive damage if necessary. But yeah, for 25 ACP, I can't make any real recommendations for it. And why Hornady even made a new round this year kind of surprises me. Maybe they've went back and tuned it, re-engineered it. There must be some sort of a demand for it. But still, yeah.
I could never get that Raven to run good at all. That's why I got rid of it, that 25 ACP I had. And I just could never get that to run. And granted, it was a Raven, so I don't even know what guns that are out there that they're even making this for.
That's the only one that I could find. I went to Classic. That was the only thing I could find. There might be some other off brands that are out there that do 25 ACP also. When I went to Davidson's Gun Genie and did a search on 25 ACP, all that came up were magazines for the Raven, not even the gun itself. So I'm surprised that the ammo is even really in production, but there must be a market for it apparently. I don't know. And I've got a Jimenez JA-22 that'll do 100, 125 rounds before carbon gets the best of it and starts to foul. Even that little gun for, $100 is just as, it's just, would probably be just as effective, if not more effective than the 25 ACP. So, yeah. So anyway, that was just kind of my thought. And that was the question they came up with. Let's go ahead and ask that question because people were curious. And there might be some older vintage guns that you have that shoot that, or you might be able to pick something up in an auction, or you find something in a pawn shop, just something to kind of play around with. But again, there's nothing wrong with having it, but there are better calibers out there that you can go with. So that's something to consider. So, all right. Last topic that we have for today is going to the range for the first time. You're taking somebody to the range for the first time. What are the mistakes that a person tends to make that you guys have seen, that you have experience with, going, or if you remember your first range trip, if you can remember that far back, what was it that definitely just turned you off to the shooting? Let's talk about the negatives. What are some of the negatives that people cause when they take somebody to the range the first time?
Not having the proper hearing and eye protection for them.
That's definitely going to be the first one. Your stuff that's caught in your ears and let's shoot the 44, right?
Nope.
So not having the correct,
too big of a gun, too big of a hand cannon, or too powerful of a rifle for someone that's never shot before. It can really turn them off really fast. Handing someone a Mosin Nagant for the first time shooting a rifle. And granted, there's probably some people that get a kick out of it, but there's a lot of people it's instantly going to shy them away from future, shooting guns.
My stepdad, and he's got a Rossi Snubby 44 mag. I've shot a lot of guns on this channel. I've range tested a lot of guns. That is by far the most painful firearm I've ever fired in my life. And you can say, well, you're just a weenie. No, the 454 Casull Ruger Super Red Hawk does not feel that bad when you shoot it compared to that Rossi. It's like slamming your hand on the table as hard as you can every single time you pull the trigger. It's one of the few times that I didn't think I was going to get through the box of 50 that I bought. I didn't want to, but I wanted to, shoot the targets and shoot the steel. And that thing was just, man, it was just, not recommended. So definitely a horrible choice if you want somebody to you're going to take somebody to the range the first time. And don't take the 454 and give it to your 90-pound girlfriend and she's never fired it before. And then she, hits herself in the head with it or whatever while you're filming it. I think that's a really bad way to start. The other one I would say is if you can, shoot outdoors, because to me the concussion, the noise, the pressure, it's not very enjoyable to shoot at an indoor range versus an outdoor range. If you can shoot outdoors, definitely go that. The first time you're taking somebody out, that'd be the way to go, because you're just, especially if you're at an indoor range and somebody's opening up with their AR pistol right next to you. I mean, it can really make for an unpleasant experience, and you're not really going to get your money's worth out of it. They might want to leave sooner, especially if it's a first time shooter.
Weenie.
Well, you say that when you're not experienced around those things, but you think they want that. You think they want that loud concussion going off next to their head over and over. They'll say this, I'm done with this, and that's not the idea. The idea is not to turn them off to shooting. So Squib and Dead Horse, you guys have kids?
Yeah. The second time I took my older son shooting, it was on a day where I had the whole family. The first time it was just me and him together. The second time, so it was a different range. We had different guns. And I went over to range rules before we got there. But, well, actually, no, that wasn't the second time. The second time we went to a range, we had gone shooting on private property before. So he understood the rules of firearm safety, and he understood how to handle a gun and stuff, not an expert or nothing, but not like his first time out there. And they've got the rule about don't cross the yellow line until they say the firing line is clear. That sort of thing. It's to make sure that there's nobody downrange changing a target, because there's always that one anchor that is down at the 100-yard line that is just taking forever. I see a few hands getting raised, but including mine. But he stepped over the yellow line, and I grabbed him by the shirt and yanked him back, and I said, "Don't do that." And after they, cleared the line and said everybody can, return to firing, Range Master pulls me over to the side and he goes, "I know why you did what you did, but when you do that with somebody his age, they're not going to want to shoot anymore. And we just lost somebody else who might really enjoy this." And I said, "You're right. I didn't think about it." He goes, "No, I totally, I'm a father, and you handled your son and all that." He said, "But next time, maybe just more calmly You know, it wouldn't have made. I would have noticed, and I would have, you know, been fine with it, because there are some range masters that are Nazis, right?
I
And
wouldn't know.
I mean, you know, my son didn't grab a gun or anything like that. He
Yeah.
just went and stood over the line. He was lining himself up and putting his earplugs back in and everything else, and just standing by the shooting. He was not doing it, but it doesn't matter. They have a reason why you don't cross it, because if you're not over that line, you can't reach anything. You just can't. And people break it all the time. Experienced people break it at my range all the time. Sometimes they've got somewhere the range master will continually tell the person, and by the time they're on their 5th time, he's yelling like a drill instructor at them, and rightly so. But I think I was more thinking about trying to instill safety into him as a key thing, and not really thinking this could turn him off to it. He was okay with it. We talked about it later. He was okay with it. But there's lots of things that we do. The reasons I've given somebody a gun that was maybe too big for them was because that's all I had. So that's why I tell people, buy as many guns as possible. That way, when you take new people to the range, you've got a lot of variety. That's a really good reason to buy them. Really, it is. So, but there are places where you can rent stuff, and maybe you rent something that's maybe not so intimidating at first. Some people really have to ease into it. And I think there's a way to stress safety without scaring somebody or without turning them off to it, because we know how it is. A lot of people, once they get into it, they're like, where has this been all my life? Why have I not been doing this?
Oh yeah.
So it's just one of those experiences. You don't want a first impression to be a bad impression.
Yeah, definitely. We got a lot of feedback coming in from the YouTube side right now. AC97 does don't be a jerk, seriously. Bring enough ammo. That's another big one. Take more than 50 rounds. I mean, when my family comes up from Texas to come, when we go shooting here in Nebraska, I'll take at least 1,000 rounds, which seems like overkill, but it's not. When you've got 3 or 4 people shooting and we're all shooting the same caliber, man, you just chew it up fast. You know, you can burn through a couple hundred rounds like it's nobody's business. So yeah, definitely bring plenty of ammo. Maybe say 400 rounds for 3 people or 4 people. That way you can all get a chance to do so. Bring a variety of guns and start off with something easy. And something I usually do, and you guys have probably heard of this before, if you're taking somebody shooting for the very, very first time, regardless of what the gun is, just load 1 round in it. That way, if they've never fired a gun before, you want to do this the right way. Give them the 1 round, put it in there. You know, obviously you can go over how the firearm functions before you even go to the range. Let them take the shot, because if they panic or freak out or drop the gun, say, oh my God, or they throw it at you or shove it back to you or hand it to you, pointing it at you, you just want to prevent any kind of an incident. So make sure that they can comfortably control the firearm before you decide to give them, say, a full mag. I'm just saying that's something that we did at one of my defensive pistol classes. It was just a level 1 class, and there were people there that had never done more than just some plinking, or it was their first time ever shooting a gun, right? I was a little nervous, and the instructor took everybody through that first round, and then after that, people were much more comfortable, and they were able to, you know, really enjoy it. Caliber choice, you know, it all kind of depends on the gun too, because there's different. I fired some 9mm that have a lot of felt recoil, a lot of shot going through the grip, and a lot that have not. So, you know, if you could go with, say, a nice mid-size or full-size handgun to start off with, in a comfortable caliber, and then work your way up the ladder as you go through it, so you get to the point where maybe they don't want to shoot anymore or whatever. That's probably one of the best ways to go. With little kids especially, we took out a GSG Firefly and let my friend's daughter shoot it a couple times. And at first she didn't want to do it. Then she saw mom shooting, and then she wanted to shoot the gun. And then we put 1 round in the Firefly to make sure she was comfortable with it. Then after that, I said, look, you don't feel anything. You don't even really know when it even goes off. She's like, that's right. She goes, I can't even tell when it's gone off, because that little GSG Firefly 22 has so low felt recoil, because the slide on that thing is so massive in the recoil spring. It almost feels like a staple gun when you're using it. And then after that, we did a full mag, and she had a good time. And now she likes it. She's interested in that kind of thing. And that's the kind of idea that we're shooting for here. No pun intended. David, what about you? The first time you went to the range, like, did you have a friend take you, or were you curious? Did you just buy your first gun and go to the range? Kingpin, what'd you do, man?
Years and years ago, my cousin took me to the range with a bunch of my brother's nephews, but I only pulled the trigger once or twice, and I was already familiar with guns, so it really wasn't that big of a deal. But the first time I went to the range by myself, it was pretty interesting. I only had 40 rounds. You know, I just bought 2 20-round boxes when I got the gun. And when I was packing up and leaving, the range officer was like, "You leaving so soon?" I said, I only brought 40 rounds. And she goes, you must be a newbie. I was like, yeah, but I'm broke too. So.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. It can be a little bit pricey. I was pricing some of the ranges out there in Lincoln, Nebraska, and man, it can be like $25, for a couple hours, or $25 for a day, and that cost can definitely have a huge impact on it. When I was in college, the first handgun I ever bought was a Gen. I think it would have been a Gen 2 G20 10 millimeter. And man, that was before you even had internet ordering for ammunition, and I wasn't into reloading. I mean, just a regular range trip was going to run me like $75. And when you're a broke college student, man, that just doesn't work well. That's why I didn't get any guns sooner, because I had that gun for so long. And then eventually I moved into a 9 and a 40 and got into it more. But yeah, definitely make sure you bring enough ammo though. Do bring enough ammo so you can really have a good time. Unless it's, a more expensive caliber you're going to be shooting, or something kind of big that's going to be kind of costly. But definitely make sure you bring enough. Targets too. Targets are big one. When I took my friends to the indoor range, the wife wanted to get the bleeding zombie targets. She thought those were just awesome because she was a huge Walking Dead fan. So have some fun with what you shoot. If your range allows it, if you got a big outdoor range, if you can shoot the 2-liter soda bottles, or if you can shoot whatever, clay pigeons or whatnot, take a variety of different things to shoot at just for fun, and then do some paper target shooting and stuff like that. So I think you can definitely really enjoy it a lot more if you do. Any other thoughts, guys?
I would say definitely make it fun. Some reactive targets are always fun for first-time people, whether it's watermelons or tin cans, or
Yeah,
it's a lot more fun than just shooting paper.
Tannerite.
Especially for the kids. Yeah, anything like that. You stop at a farmer's market and ask them if they have any old, fruit or anything like that, watermelons. That's always going to be good times. And don't forget to make it fun for them. You don't have to turn them into like the world's most proficient shooter or John Wick on their first range trip. Just make sure they know basic safety and let them have some fun. Don't overload them with information. Like, do this, hold like that. Yeah.
Just kind of go through and just kind of run through it and see how it goes, and make some corrections if necessary as you do it.
At my range, you can only shoot paper targets. If I wanted to shoot any kind of cool stuff, I got to go back to my secret spot. But one of the things, going back to the targets, especially if you're bringing somebody who is new to guns, like this is the first time they've ever been shooting, not this is the first time they've ever been to the range.
Yeah.
But bring some of the shoot and see targets. Go to Walmart and spend $7 on the generic shoot and see targets, and you get a nice pack full. Because even somebody who's experienced at shooting, you put a target out 200 yards and it's just white paper, you're not going to be able to see the bullet holes. Even at the 25-yard, if you're talking about a newbie for the first time, learning how to use a scope, learning how to use the little range finder or whatever you call a little scope that you have at the range so you can see the targets. A little hole in a piece of paper is hard to see.
Yeah. I like the Dirty Bird targets that you get, the ones that do the rainbow colors. Because I'll use those for videos because they show up really well on camera, and it's just easier for me to see where the shots are going right away. Or like you said, the shoot and see ones, reactive targets. Yeah, those are definitely, and they're like $5 for, I don't know, you get like pack of 8 or pack of 10 or something like that.
That's what I like about the shoot and see, because we bought the Dirty Birds when my friends started going with me for the first time. Because they're relatively cheap, but you can get twice as many of the shoot and sees for half the price, and it's right next to if you look at the Dirty Birds and you look at the ones to the left, right there's your shoot and see.
It's right there.
The Walmart brand, I guess you would call them, but you get twice as many targets for half the price.
Yeah, I think all the Walmarts are pretty much laid out the same for the targets. They have like a little rack that they all go on just off to the left of the holsters, or off to the left of the cleaning supplies.
Yeah, don't be ashamed to use the little dots that come with them. So you can put a whole bunch of holes in a target, and keep putting stickers on them and keep putting holes in that target.
When Squib was shooting me at the range, Squib, I think I gave you all my dots. You're like, aren't you going to use those? And I was like, no, I just put a new target up. Like, dude, I'll take them.
Yeah, okay.
I have that.
I have that in mind. People don't know what they're for, I think, because we used to patch our targets in the military with little squares. But it's the same, it's just tape. That's all it was, like masking tape. But they'll be right there in the top of the trash can, and I'll be a range garbage picker. I will. You'd be like, the target's all shot up, but all corners have got the 1-inch black and orange, and I'll just tear off the corners and throw it in my range bag for next time. And it's like, You patch it. I think it's just like so many other things with me. It's an old holdover from the military. But there are people that, and they put the whole target up there. They just stick the whole thing up there, dots and all. I peel the center circle or square off, and I put it on a piece of cardboard, or I put it over top of a target I've already shot up. And and there are people, they just take it up there and staple it. And I'm going, why buy adhesive then? But it's just like, okay, but there's so many people that are new to shooting that go to my range. My range is really good for new shooters and families, more so than the FUDs that take over for 2 months out of the year, or all the guys that come in there thinking that they're operators and they're not. And I just think it's, it's like when you see somebody show up with a box that says Palmetto State Armory, and he just bought this and hasn't even got a case for it yet, and they don't know what to do with the targets either. So maybe I should do a YouTube video on how to use shoot and see.
Oh yeah, there you go. There's your next video right there. See, you're inspiring yourself now.
Yeah, but those Dirty Birds, I've used them. Only one member of our family prefers those over the shoot and sees. But I do like the fact that you said that it shows up better on camera. I never considered that. That could be helpful.
I've been shooting the green paper silhouette targets, but I really have to zoom in, and sometimes I'll be watching. I can't even tell which shot was first, or if you get some overlap, you can't really tell. But I just do that because I'm just doing more of a defensive 4 distances. That's why I use the green silhouette targets. But yeah, the shoot and sees are a lot of fun too. I used to do 4 targets side by side and back up and shoot each one individually to see if you can notice much of a spread. But yeah, they're cool. They're very cool, but they can get really expensive really quick too. I usually ask for them for Christmas. They make great stocking stuffers, sort of.
Talking real quick about budget targets, everybody's got scrap paper. Like I can't take a pizza box and staple it at my range. I have to have it's a legit paper target. But if you got a whole bunch of scrap paper laying around your house, junk mail, any of that kind of junk, take one of those shoot and see dots. Once your target's trashed out, you got a bunch of extra dots, and stick it right in the middle of a scrap piece of paper. Now you've got a free target.
Yeah. And that's another thing too. Yeah, when you do those range trips, I mean, the targets can get expensive if you buy them in house. You might pay as much for say 3 as a pack of 10 might cost you at Walmart. So think about that when you go.
You can do something as simple. Sorry, I'm here at work. It's making noise.
Transformer in the background.
Yeah. Oh, there's all kinds of noises here. You can do something as simple as go into the school supply aisle in Walmart again, buy a piece of poster board. You take the shoot and see, you stick it on the poster. I had to do this on a video. Yeah, maybe this is what I'm going to do. On the Walmart trip, okay, you take the shoot and see. That means I got to buy shoot and sees at Walmart. I don't spend money in their sporting goods department anymore since they raised the age to buy ammo to 21 or guns to 21 or whatever the ridiculous rule is. Maybe I'll make an exception for a video. It's all about art. But you buy a piece of poster board, you peel off the shoot and see, you stick it in the center of the poster board. I use clips that I buy at Walmart in the hardware department. Those black plastic clips I showed you, and all right, I'll do the video. Damn it. Okay, so and hang that up, and then after you shoot holes in it, you just peel off another one and stick it on the poster board. You can shoot that poster board if you even want to take it to the nth degree. If you don't like the shoot and sees, or you want a paper target that you can find online and print for free, because there's all kinds of, if you've got a color printer at work and the boss ain't looking, just print them on your lunch break. You can just take simple clear 2-inch packing tape and tape this to a piece of cardboard or piece of poster board. Or if you happen to work at a factory like me or a warehouse or something like that, there's always scrap cardboard in the back. Sometimes they'd rather you take it home than have it fill the dumpster. So there are all kinds of ways to get a piece of scrap cardboard or something as simple as poster board. I mean, I just put a new storm door on the house. Do you know how many targets I can make out of the box the storm door came in?
Oh God!
It's utility knife.
You can put it over a frame and use it if you wanted to as a back as a board to shoot at. Yeah.
So and you can just keep putting those shoot and sees on top, one right on top of the other, on top of the other, on top of the other, on top. And until it starts raining or something, you really don't have a whole lot to worry about. Now, eventually, you will degrade it, to the point where you're not going to hold it together anymore. But for a day at the range, it's really an inexpensive option if you can't get a piece of scrap cardboard or you want something lightweight, because cardboard is kind of, when I bring 4 or 5 cardboard targets that are already set up, that I've already got targets taped to them or whatever it is. That stuff is kind of heavy, and in the wind it all flops around and stuff. And one or two pieces of poster board would be a lot cheaper, lighter option as well. But I'm just saying there are ways to do things. I think it's just that some people maybe haven't thought of these just because they haven't been shooting that long. That's all. But thanks for the inspiration to make a video.
That's what I do, man. That's what I do. But yeah, there are a lot of really cool websites, and for a ton of free templates. Like if you got the color printer and it's not too expensive to print per page, you can definitely print off your own targets. Or if you're in a bind, you don't have a chance to go to the store, just turn on the printer real quick and just hammer out maybe a dozen color targets, and you're good to go. But that can get expensive, depending on the printer, depending on what kind of a setup that you have. But still, it's another good idea too. Yeah.
For about $7, I make 250 targets. Just buying the pack of 250 paper plates, and then you go over to the envelope and marker section where they have the pens and markers and envelopes in Walmart, and they have these little colored dots of all sorts of different colors for I guess like organizing files and stuff.
Or garage sales or something like that.
Garage sales, yeah, little price tags, stuff like that, and you buy 250 of those, and it comes to about $7.
Yeah, I forgot all about the paper plate. Yeah, I forgot all the paper plate. That's the oldest one. Grandpa used to use that for shotguns. So, and most of your stuff is going to be about an 8-inch target anyhow. So yeah, you're absolutely right.
Calavera says, print off a bunch of Ghost Tactical Drill the Month targets. Of course. Absolutely, man. They're already ready to go. So cheap plug. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool ideas. What do you have here? Rolling Trip, what were you talking about? Political campaign ground signs make outstanding target stands. I never thought of that, man. That's a good one. I've actually got some of those in my garage just sitting there because sometimes I need to stand at like 50 yards and I don't have anything, and I'm taping it on like a road sign I can find out at the range. And that's a really good idea because the wire in them would keep them upright. And with the plastic, you could staple your targets on if you want to, or you could easily tape stuff to it. So that's going to be the tip of the week right there. Just especially after like an election, to see if your neighbor wants the sign. If they don't, just take it, and then you can put your targets on it. That's freaking awesome. What? Years ago, I could have used that advice, man.
You would be nicely asked to leave my range if you showed up with Mr. Johnson for Maryland Senate sign. Like they absolutely Calaveras was talking about the Feinstein Pelosi pictures. That's not going to ride. They're not going to let you do that.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that. That's why if you guys watch the comments going on over there, the stuff you can shoot at, I'm not whatever, man. You do you, but no, I mean me. I would already have paper over that sign, or I'd have the targets already on it. But yeah, there'd probably be the other side you'd be able to see. So maybe make sure it's kind of the political party that's not popular in your neck of the woods, and then maybe people won't really care. So,
but that is pretty genius if you can get that metal framing. I mean, you could carry 100 of those, and it doesn't weigh 5 pounds by then or something like that. That's crazy. So that's a pretty good idea.
Awesome idea, because I was thinking about buying one of the Allen target stands. They make one it's mobile and it collapses, so you can throw it in your vehicle, like flips out and locks out, and you can set it up whatever you want. You have just enough room for like a 12 by 12 target on it, and you can staple it on. But that, man, for free? Oh, that's great. I'm going to go hit my garage right now.
The morning after Election Day, you just go to the local intersection.
There you go.
Because you know what? As somebody from each different campaign has got to go there and clean them up, and they're supposed to do it within a certain amount of time, and some do and some don't. If you live where I live, all you have to do is just go see the local ex-police chief, because what he did was he decided that he was going to take the guy running against him and steal all of his campaign signs. And one of his own police officers followed him, and it's all on dash cam. So, I mean,
isn't that theft and trespassing technically?
Oh, yeah. We ended up getting
on a little level,
we got a new police chief out of that, but we're not really any better off. But still, I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of people that probably wouldn't miss. I'm not encouraging you to steal, but maybe there's a way to get a hold of their campaign, especially if they lost, right? And be like, what are you going to do with those? Because, those things are just probably print shops that have them that'll sell them to you for next to nothing. So you could make target stands great again.
But again, like David Bowling is saying, you want to make sure the range officer's cool with it before you show up with a bunch of them thinking you're going to use them, especially if it's showing a person's name. But like where I'm at, nobody would care. I mean, it
Yeah,
does. People would think that's a good idea, man. You know.
you already came up with the answer for that. If you go, if you're gonna take a John Smith for alderman sign to the range, just make sure it's covered before you get there. So
Yeah.
the advertisement's not there, and you wouldn't have to worry about that.
Hell, you could tape newspaper to it if you wanted to, and you wouldn't build. I mean, that'd be a cheap way to do it. Newspaper and some masking tape, just tape it up and then put your targets over it, and you're good to go. Be easy way to do it. So that's awesome. That's awesome. Now I've got it all figured out because my range. I love my range, but they're more of a backstop range. They don't necessarily have targets that are closer than just the backstops. It kind of depends on what you want to shoot at, but especially the 50-yard zero. If I want to zero something in at 50 and then take it out, it's hard for me to do that on the rifle range because it's 100. If you want to get set up and do a 50 and then a 100. So, all right, cool. Well, guys, it is 7 o'clock my time, 8 o'clock on the East Coast time. I'm going to go ahead and call it. Does anybody know who's got the show tonight? Is it Obnoxious or is it Sarge? Who's
Sarge?
Sarge is doing the show tonight.
Oh,
So
he's on the schedule.
What's that?
He's on the schedule to do one at least.
Is he starting right now, or is he in another hour? It's supposed to be going on now.
I think he starts at 9 Eastern.
So 8 o'clock here. It's 8 o'clock. Oh, we're 7 o'clock. So we got another hour. So okay, cool. But I'm gonna go ahead and call it anyway. So just to let you guys know, the Caliber Corner that'll happen in 2 weeks, episode 100, episode number 100. It's gonna actually be on the 4th of July. We are probably going to record it the night before. I'm going to see if I can get a panel together, and we'll have a really good topic to talk about. The only reason why is because for me, it's a difficult day for me to have free time. It's my grandma's birthday for starters, and we have family that comes up that travels a long ways, and we are all together doing stuff the whole day. And so it's going to be about impossible for me to do a live show. So it'll be pre-recorded, but we'll still have something for you guys to watch and something for you to listen to. And then after that, we'll bring it back to being live on Thursdays again, just to let you know. But we'll have an episode number 100. I'll actually have a little surprise to share with you guys, I hope, and we'll go from there. So real quick, we'll go ahead and let the panel say a few final words, and we'll see who is joining us today on the Gun Channels and YouTube side. And we did have Night Strike with us earlier, and Foos was here for a little while. AWAG was with us also. And so go ahead and start up with Dead Horse. You want to say anything before we close it out, buddy?
Yeah, I just want to say go support Night Strike over at GunTube, and go support G-Webs over on gunchannels.com.
Definitely. Echo those sentiments, man. All right, David, Kingpin, anything you want to say before we go?
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Everybody check out everysecondmatters.com.
Sounds good. All right, Squiblift, anything you want to say before we go, bud?
Thanks for the invite. Another good show. And everybody check out C4 Defense. Check out Sarge in an hour on Are You Being Detained? You aren't being detained. You're being detained. I don't know. Somebody's getting detention. I know that.
Somebody's getting detention. And Squib, I did put a link to your main channel out there on the YouTube side earlier. So everybody's going to be, you're going to see your number of subscribers exponentially increase. And those coffee reviews are really going to start taking off. I can feel it.
Well, thanks, Travis. Somebody subscribed to me right at the beginning of the show. So
yeah.
I appreciate that. And for anybody out there, and for you too, Travis, I don't want anybody to think I'm riding anybody's coattails, or I guess it would be e-begging for subscriptions. If I get if somebody subscribes and they like what the videos I make,
yeah,
great. And if you don't, and you unsubscribe, or you just turn off the notification bell, or you don't check in, I'm fine with that too. I'm fine with that too. I appreciate my friends out there that take the time to watch my videos and make comments. I appreciate my friends out there trying to promote my main channel and my B channel, and I appreciate my friends giving me a name for my B channel. That's you, Sandhills. I know you're out there listening somewhere, but I appreciate everything everybody does. But I don't want anybody to think that I'm trying to push this or push that. I appreciate the subscriptions. I appreciate the views. I'm having a lot of fun with this. So thank you very much.
Could I throw in one more quick thing, Travis?
Yeah, do it, man. Do it.
For everybody that watches the Budget Guns and Gear Reviews channel, remember that he is on a new schedule for Friday night. It's going to be roughly 11:15 p.m. start time Eastern, and that's the Budget Guns and Gears Reviews channel, Right of the People.
11:30.
He did decide 11:30.
Yeah. At the end of the show, he decided he's going to go with 11:30. That way, he's got a little bit of leeway. He doesn't have to exceed the speed limit like he did last time.
Probably the better for that. Better for that reason. So. Real quick here, Yoder said, don't forget the Open Liberty podcast is about to start. That's over on the Never Enough Ammo channel. I want you guys to make sure you go check that out. It's Never ENUFF Ammo over there on YouTube.
Matt
And
does that every other week, right?
is it once a month? I thought it was only once per month. Maybe he does it. Maybe he does it every other week. I don't know. I do catch it. I'm usually watching these the next day in the morning when I'm working on stuff, but because in the evenings I'm doing stuff with the family. But yeah, it's on Thursday evening, so make sure you guys check it out. And you guys all be safe. And so joining us today, let's go over to the gun channel side here. Joining us this evening on the gun channel side, we had Snob's wife. David was over there. And here, Gizzard Gary was over there. Is it Pawn Woods? PNW Woods was out there. And then we also had, is that it? That's all I can see on that side right now. And then on the YouTube side, Derek24 was with us. Thanks for joining us, man. Again, you asked a lot of great questions. I love doing that. Rich White was out there. Jason Stewart, Yoder, Texas in the house. Tim Allen. Rolling Trip, Calaveras 32 Special. And let's see here. Who else was with us? We had Rich White out there. AC97 in the house, tacos and french fries. Thanks for chilling. Two Gun Kitty, the Catnip Outlaw. Thank you very much for checking out the show this evening. Let's see. See if we're missing anybody. Gizzard Gary out there. Oh, you guys had a lot of conversation going on tonight. That's always a good thing. A lot of discussion going on. A lot of good ideas being shared. Patrick was out there also. Russ Carr was out there. Otherwise, I think that's pretty much about it. Blue Steel 44. All right, thanks for being here. Lunatic Rider 209 was with us also. I think that's pretty much about it. So, all right, guys, this has been Caliber Corner episode number 98. As we approach episode 100, it's going to be awesome. Thank you to the panel for being here. Thank you guys all for watching. Make sure you check out my channel, Travis P11, over on YouTube. Please like and subscribe, and hopefully we'll have another episode of Caliber Corner next week. But in the meantime, make sure you guys support gunchannels.com and make sure you guys support guntube.org. You guys can be patrons of that if you want to keep that website going, that hosting service going for Pro 2A content. But in the meantime, I want you guys to have fun. I want you to be safe. And as you know, we will talk to you soon. Have a good one.
Early watch, 9 a.m. Eastern, gun channels.
Bye, Alicia.
Adios.